Pulling out the coupe at the lot. Told him fuck 12, fuck SWAT. Busting all the bells out the box. I just hit a lick with the box. Had to put the stick in the box. Pour up the whole damn field. I'ma get lazy. I got the mojo deals. We been trapping like the 80s.
Planes were meant to fly, planes they ain't supposed to fall from the sky. But if they do, they'll leave behind more than a piece or two. Planes just be flying, I know you think I'm lying. The USA, they be hiding the truth, and I ain't buying. Planes they're meant to fly, planes they ain't supposed to fall from the sky. But if they do, they'll leave behind more than a piece or two. They'll leave behind more than I know you think I'm lying. The USA, they be hiding the truth, and I ain't buying. Planes they're meant to fly, planes they ain't supposed to fall from the sky. But if they do, they'll leave behind more than a piece or two. Planes just be flying, I know you think I'm lying. The USA, they be hiding the truth, and I ain't buying. They'll leave behind more than a piece or two. They'll leave behind more than a piece or two.
Ooh, one of my favorite songs, everybody. A Piece or Two by Heather Birdie and some AI bot. So, hey, everybody, welcome to the stream tonight. Glad you guys are here. We're going to have an awesome stream. I appreciate everyone being here. We have been honestly rocking it out for the last week or so. We've just been finding out so much stuff related to science, digging into a lot. We've had awesome engagement. We've had a ton of people on the live streams. It's been amazing. And we haven't even posted the videos in a while. So I'm going to start real quick by posting the videos, and then we are going to talk a little bit, very briefly, about the current comings and goings that are happening across Twitter. And then we're going to dig right into the interview, and that's going to be our stream here for tonight. So first of all, hey, everybody. Good to see everybody in the chat. We got a lot of people already out there, and it's only been a few minutes. So let's go ahead and show what the MH370 videos there are. So there was somebody, Mr. BB333, has like 650,000 subscribers on YouTube, had posted something about the videos earlier today. And I went, oh, wow, that's interesting. That person, people are looking at him. And I could tell that they must have pulled it from my YouTube or my my Twitter, because they posted this video of which is the color change version, which has only showed up on Reddit in the early days. And then I'm the only other person who showed this version. I think that Punjabi Batman was the one that made this version. And this is the reason why this version existed early on, was because you could see the dark lines in front of the orbs in this. So I went ahead and I shared a better version so that they could, and I offered my services to that person if they have any question for Mr. BBB, because they didn't seem to realize that there was two videos that were out there. So the one video, the satellite video, this is the newest high quality one that we found like last week or something like that. Yeah, X is wild right now. We're going to go over X in a minute as well, because it's wild, chat. But this is the newest high quality, most high quality version of the satellite video. You can actually basically see the engines in this version of the video. Also, real quick, chat, it's really weird how all the debunkers keep trying to say that you can tell that the smoke is coming from the engines, which, first of all, if it was coming from the engines, that doesn't mean it's not smoke. Like, why are they so deceptive? And they keep saying it's contrails, even though it's literally impossible for it to be contrails. if you were an honest person, you would say, okay, those clouds are very low altitude, therefore it's literally impossible for it to be contrails. So we could all agree that it must be smoke, but they don't want to say that it's smoke, because if they even call it smoke, then they're giving credibility to the story that we've discovered, which is that this plane was on fire, had a battery fire inside the cargo bay. But just because you have two trails doesn't mean it's coming from the engines. There's no way to deduce this is coming from the engines from this video. So very weird to me that they are certain that this is somehow not smoke, especially because even in the Metabunk forums, there's somebody named, I forgot what their name was, but you can go look at the Metabunk forum related to debunking this video. Someone even tells them that it's smoke and not contrails, and they just like downvote them and unhappy emoji them and all kinds of stuff. Pretty wild. Hey, Ocean says, you're over the target, babe. Let them hate. Yeah, we're going to let the haters hate for sure. Yeah, I don't care. We're so far above the haters at this point, but I do want to expose some of these people who are trying to defame me. So if I get any of the real names of the people who are defaming me, I am going to blast that on my live streams. Because I just think that that's just such uncalled for bullshit, frankly. Like, you know, they've been spamming, like coordinated spamming fake community notes on my content. And it's obvious, like we caught them, you know, finally this community notice showed up, you know, which goes to show, A, they've been talking about it ahead of time. It also goes to show that they were communicating with one another to vote it helpful as well, which is, that should be an automatic permanent ban from Twitter. People say, I don't believe in permanent bans. Guys, if you are abusing community notes to tag onto people's content, you should be 100% banned from social media. That's like inarguable. That's the worst possible thing you can do, is try to intentionally spread disinformation on social media and get caught, you know? So we ended up getting the community note removed. And I heard from a community noter that if that happens to you, you're not allowed to post community notes for a few days or something like that. So they won't be able to post anything for at least a little while. But I think it's absolutely insane that you don't get your account permanently banned when something like that happens. If you falsely call somebody a scammer, and then you spam people to spam helpful on a fake community note, that should be the end of your entire Twitter account. Should be completely deleted, permanently banned, no going back, no appeals or anything like that. Absolutely insane that some people are so mentally unwell that they feel like they should be able to just post fake stuff on your videos or on your content. And that's the best part, is like they think that we're promoting something fake, but they have no problem pushing fake community notes on my content, which is, the irony is through the roof, honestly. By the way, these videos are real. I know it's hard to believe, but these videos are real. So is the science as well. So, you know, and this is the drone video here. Sorry, I'm just getting my olives ready, chat. We're going to get into this. So people wonder, like, who's Ashton Forbes? He's a MH370 guy. I guess so, because nobody else wanted to pick it up. But you know, I've dug into the science. It's legit. It's out there. It's real. Gravity waves are real. And with gravity waves, we can produce what we see here. I also have been promoting over unity, free energy. And that's going to end up being real as well. And then when that's real, I don't want to hear any more BS about how the videos aren't real. Because what if I just figured out free energy, but I can't figure out that the videos are still fake at that point? Like, boy, that's got to take a lot of mental gymnastics to rationalize that one. So one last version here of the video, and then we're going to get into this. This is the black and white version. Also, guys, we are going to give away some Cosmic Summit passes. I've got, if anyone knows a good way to give away, like, is there like a website you can go to where you can have people join and then do like a randomization type thing or something like that? In fact, what I might do is maybe I'll wait for tomorrow to do the Cosmic Summit passes giveaway and then just give them all away at once. So I have, I think, eight Cosmic Summit passes to give away that are remote passes for virtual, and they're oh, Nightbot can do it. I have to figure out that. And the I think their retail value is like $135. So yeah, I would just need to use like a random generator. Maybe I'll do it on X. Maybe that's a good way to do it. So if you have any ways to do it, let me know. So I think I've got about 8 passes to give away. The retail value of the combo virtual pass that gives you access to watch everything in real time, and you can watch the replays, I believe, and you can see the classrooms and the main stages, is normally $135. I've got about 8 passes to give away that will give it to you for free. And actually right now, I don't want to confuse anybody. If you're not interested in the giveaway, there is a code that will give you 50% off. You can use code Ashton. Code Ashton will give you 50% off the I believe the virtual, maybe all the passes. I don't know. I think it's the virtual passes though. But you can check that out. So if you don't mind paying whatever $25 to $65 or whatever it is, depending on which package you get, you can use code Ashton, and that will give you 50% off. So I'll put that in the chat. Look at me, guys. I'm doing advertisements, and I will be at the Cosmic Summit. I will be in the classroom. So if you have the combo pass, you can see the classrooms. You can watch me on Monday. I'll probably be talking about what you see right here in this video and talking about free energy as well. So if you are interested in that, 50% off your new energy generator. I wish we had that, but no, unfortunately not. Maybe in the future if it works out. Okay. Let's get into it. Next thing. Actually, before we dig into that, I want to show you guys one more thing as well. So I've been digging around some papers, and I found some pretty interesting papers here by my man Gary Stevenson. Looks like he's worked for the U.S. Air Force till 2015, and he's got some papers. Gravitomagnetic field generation using high permittivity materials and superconducting magnetic energy storage devices. Proposal for laboratory generated gravomagnetic field measurement. Magneto-hydrodynamic aerospace applications update. High index SMES device for gravomagnetic field generation proposal online. So I'm going to read like everything this guy's ever put out. I might try to reach out to him, see if I can get him on a Hard Truths podcast as well. Quite a lot of really, really interesting papers he's written. And if you go back further as well, he talks about even down, I think, in early 2000s. Signal photon flux and background noise and coupling electromagnetic detecting system for high frequency gravitational waves. Lessons for energy resonance high frequency gravitational wave detector designs from mass resonance and interferometric low frequency gravitational wave detectors. I mean, hello. Seems pretty spicy to me, chat. I think there was some other stuff as well. Proposed ultra high sensitivity high frequency gravitational wave detector, 2008. That's Bob Baker and Gary Stevenson. Wow. So he has several papers with Bob Baker as well. Oh, wow. Oh, chat. Okay, we're going to stop sharing that for now. Wow. Yeah, very, very interesting find on that one. Very interesting find. So, guys, those videos are real. Like, there's no... Can you imagine finding some videos of science that's like not publicly available or not publicly, like, let's say, understood, and then all of a sudden you find a bunch of engineers and scientists and papers from a bunch of different people that all explain that science? Like, come on, man. Come on. It's like, what more do I got to do here, guys? And then that's why we're going to watch Salvatore Pais here in a few minutes as well. Let me get that ready to go. Before we do that, actually, let's look at, man, Twitter has been, okay, let me get in position here. Actually, can I pull it up or not? I'm not going to be able to pull up all these clips along with it. So, guys, Twitter has been just off the chain recently. So between Joe Biden having dementia and basically being a weekend at Bernie situation going on, we've got Nick Fuentes and Laura Loomer are like in love and having like a little, star-crossed lover situation going on. We've got this Lilly woman who hates Redditors even more than I hate Redditors. She's been going ultra viral. I think she lost her job as well today. And by the way, for my fellow simps out there, she follows me. Haha. And then we've got Andrew Tate, who's just been burning down crypto, like all the crypto market, just dropping hard R's every single day. I mean, this thing is what's getting wild out there, everybody. Meanwhile, I just want free energy for the whole world, and I'm dropping an over Unity device on the world. And in a week or so, maybe a couple of weeks, going to have some images of the multimeters so you guys can see that it actually is producing over Unity. And then soon after that, I plan to go out there and take video with the device, with the multimeters, so that people can see that it's actually producing over Unity while powering a load at the same time. And that potentially will trigger all the electrical engineers that are out there. You've already seen a few of them have been coming at me pretty hard. So, wow, X is on fire, guys. If you're not on X, get on X, follow along. Things are popping off. Okay. So let's get right into this then, guys. So I'm going to skip the X posting stuff. Oh. Actually, oh wait, I want to watch this. Hold on. Apparently, this Lilly, I'm going to call her woman. I don't know how old she is. Went on, let's see, InfoWars. I just want to listen to a couple minutes.
And I want to get kind of some background info. Before it was banned, you created a new.
If you don't know who she is, she's been going viral because she said that anime kids and the theater kids are like all losers, and now they control the world. And now they're, pushing laws on all the rest of us. And okay, yes, I like anime, so you could say that she was talking and making fun of me as well. That's fine. I still love her. But with respect, like when I was listening to her, I just hear Redditor. That's all I hear when she speaks. So I would. Oh, she says the N-word. Guys, I think she used the soft R though. No, she didn't use hard R though. So she gets, we can't go all in on her. Soft R or no R is a lot different than hard R, guys. Soft A versus hard R. But yes, so let's see what she has to say for herself. She lost her job over. I'm just gonna say it. Hopefully, I won't lose my job. I'm quoting her here, so if anybody tries to take this out of context, I'm quoting her. She says, "Broke ass iggas," I'm not going to say the whole thing. And that's why she lost her job. And she was actually referring to men who are broke when she was talking about like who she likes to date or something, I think. So let's listen to what she has to say here while I grab some blue cheese. Her name, I think, is Lily. That could be a fake name. I don't really know. Also, she's been getting attacked apparently because I posted a picture of her or a video, and then everybody started talking about the juice. If you guys know what I mean. And she said she's not Jewish. Then people started attacking me, saying that I was Jewish, which I guess we've made it, guys. We've got Peter Hotez blocking me, Flint Dibble blocking me. I've never interacted with either of them. I've got people in my replies saying that I'm Israel sympathizer, or that I'm Jewish. Just for the record, I'm not Jewish, but I have nothing against Jewish people. So it's getting wild out there, everybody. Here we go. Let's listen. I'll be right back.
I mean, what was kind of your presence on the internet? Did you have an internet personality? Is this just like you just make a video, now all of a sudden it's like a sensation? What is kind of the backstory behind Lily?
Right. So I've always been super conservative. Obviously, I was raised in a super conservative household. So it's not like being red-pilled is new to me. I've always been somewhat active on social media and always super outspoken with with my beliefs and stuff because they're correct. And then recently I was like, I'm going to start making, little minute videos of just like me talking about the stuff that we all think, but a lot of us are too scared to say out loud. And then they started to build a little tribe, and then I had a few kind of go a little bit viral. So I was like, okay,
A little
we'll
bit
start a
viral.
next account. That first one got banned, of course. And then I just restarted a new one, and we're back in business now.
So is it fair to
What does she
say
mean it got
that
banned?
you've never gone viral before? You've never had the amount of following or attention that you have now?
Yeah, I would say so. This is kind of a big deal. And we've all been there, like I'm sure you've had your fair share of doxing and people coming after you and something going viral. So it's all too new to me, but I think it's just like you have to still stand up and say the truth regardless of what, people think, because we're not going to live in a free country unless we all stand up, collectively and just start speaking, because we don't have the government necessarily as of yet telling us what to do. But we have the mob telling us what to do, and they're controlling the agenda, and they are allowing who can and cannot speak in this country, and that's just not wrong. Or
Yo, you cannot call dibs, guys. She doesn't follow you; she follows me. Chat.
that's just not right, because if you want to live in a free country,
let's just see what she has to say, and then we can judge her.
Freedom of speech is the most important part. That's the only way you can preserve the rest of your freedoms. That is the fundamental freedom in this country, and it's really under attack from people who cannot stand the truth being spoken or having any opinion that conflicts with their own personal opinions.
So I guess you've done some videos preparing food, and I guess that makes you a trad wife now if you want to cook for yourself or your family. Do you consider yourself a trad wife?
Trad wife?
I don't really. I don't really. I wouldn't say I'm a part of any kind of.
Should I DM her, chat? I have DM capabilities, but no, I'm not gonna. I'm not one of those weirdos that DMs people. I've actually almost never cold DM'd anybody before. I mean, Andrew Tate, the Tate brothers follow me. I never DM them. I got a lot of huge people. Laura Loomer follows me, then DM her. Actually, basically everybody I mentioned at the beginning of this stream follows me, except for Nick Fuentes. Never DM'd any of them.
The groups necessarily. I'm just a normal person who speaks my mind, and we all have to eat, so I do cook as well.
Yeah, well, just cooking.
I like that she cooks. Let's move forward. Anything else relevant? Okay, well, whatever. That's it. Okay, enough of that. That was fun. So I don't know. Seems like a normal person to me, chat, but I'll leave it to you guys to determine if what you think that she's, playing a role or what have you on there. Let's go to our podcast. Time to watch some Salvatore Pais. What's her OnlyFans name? Yeah. Yeah, people are true. I mean, so Kabuta Maria is correct. Freedom of speech is not equal freedom from consequences. And I think Redditors are the number one people that should know that or learn that, because, you can harass people online, but that doesn't mean that you're consequence free, which is funny because they get so mad when I say that I'm going to dox them. But doxing people is not illegal, just for the record. I think it's funny. If I were to send people after you or something, that that could be definitely deemed as some type of harassment. But just saying who you are is not an illegal act, as far as I know, in any state. So, yeah, I mean, once again, people should remember, what you say on the internet, just because you think you're hiding behind anonymity, does not protect you in any way, shape, or form. So people should be very careful about how they act on the internet, in my opinion. And yeah, of course, you can say anything you want, but yeah. She said she likes car mechanics and hippies who want to have a lot of babies. All she wants is a guy who pew-pews burglars. Is that what she said? And no cats. Well, guys, I think everything except for these magic cards back here are holding me back at this point, Otherwise, I think we check all the boxes. Actually, that's not true. I don't have a gun either, so I don't pew-pew the bad guys hard enough. But no, all good. But yeah, so I guess no more Tiffany Gomez, guys. Tiffany Gomez is yesterday's news. Now we are going to be simping for Lilly now. Lilly. I can already see her blowing up too. She's already got, I think, over 50,000 followers in a day. Pretty wild. If you're a beautiful woman and you are on social media, the world's your oyster, chat. Okay, let's move on. Oh yeah, she's way out of my league, chat. I mean, just if we're being honest, she's way out of my league. Let's just be honest with each other, okay? unless she's interested in science out there. But yes, yeah, if I got ripped, then I'd be a Giga Chad. Not interested though. Okay, let's watch our podcast here. And for the record, before I play this, guys, I apologize for the potato quality. So for the first few interviews, if you haven't been following, I used to have a potato webcam, and that it wasn't until I think the Dave Rossi and Salvatore Pais one that I got the new webcam. That was a much better video camera. So give me 1 sec, guys. I'm gonna put this cheese away, then we'll get started here. Actually, I'll just start playing it. We're fine. I'm also going to put it on like 1.5 speed, I think. I don't know. Okay. Let's go with, we'll do 1.25, see how that works. Start stream. Yes. Okay. Go live. There we go. That looks pretty good. Okay, be right back. Hold on. Ugh, see, look how bad I was back then, chat. Okay, we are live, sir. We are live here today with Salvatore Pais, one of my favorite people on the planet right now. He is doing my first ever interview. This is going to be Hard Truths with Salvatore Pais and Ashton Forbes. So right off the bat, sir, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Never ever call me sir. Number one, call me brother.
Got it, brother.
That really goes to the soul with me. So Ashton, thank you very much. This is an honor to be your first interview. So yeah. I'm pretty sure there will be a lot more after this one. Trust me on that.
Oh, I love it.
And I hope to be in further interviews as well. That'd be great. Now, yeah. All right, let me give a disclaimer right off the bat. I'm required to do this. So I come on this podcast as a private citizen, and the, let's say, the statements, speculations, opinions that I make are in no way implicating the United States Navy nor the United States Space Force. They're my own. And
okay, so right away, he's already issuing a disclaimer that his opinions are his own and they don't implicate the Space Force and the Navy, which tells us he's worked for both of them. And also, I'm probably not going to say anything that would get Salvatore Pais in trouble, but wow.
And as such, I shall present them. Now, can I give 5 minutes sort of origins? And okay.
The floor is yours, sir. Sal, the floor is yours. Cheers, by the way, guys. Cheers to Sal's.
I was born in Romania. I'm very proud of my Romanian heritage. You can call me American apple pie made in Romania. I just love hearing that. I heard it once before, and I like that. So
I can make this smaller.
I will say something in Romanian so people are convinced that I'm from that. Sunt mândru că sunt român, trăiască poporul român, trăiască România, nimic fără Dumnezeu. Basically, it says, I'm very proud to be Romanian. Hooray for the Romanian people. Hooray.
Okay, I'm probably going to skip past this, but basically he does an intro saying we shouldn't help out our enemies, which is another thing that should tell you that he's legit. And if you're not sure who Salvatore Pais is, oh, can I turn the volume up? Probably can. Actually, I can't turn the volume up. Sucks. If you're not sure who he is, then he has patents for high-frequency gravitational wave generator. So you'll have to turn the volume up on your side, guys. It can't be louder, unfortunately. This is as loud as it goes.
Hooray for Romania. And mainstream physics believe that mathematical acrobatics should pass for great physics. As a matter of fact, I believe the simpler the mathematics, the more important the physics, especially if you have a good understanding of what the problem is.
Yeah.
Many times, great physics is found by accident, is not actually looked for. And one other thing that I wish to mention also is that this is not new physics. This is a new perspective on old physics. And this.
So that's something that Dave Rossi said as well, which is that it's a new perspective on old physics. So that's our first guess as to what's going on, because it goes back to Maxwell, Tesla, etc. We don't have to redo all physics. We just have to understand it differently. Yeah, I'll turn mine down so that the relative sound is a little bit better. How about that? That should be a little bit better.
This is what makes it incredibly interesting, because there's so many things out there that have not been tried yet. It is as if classical electromagnetism theory has been put aside the moment quantum theory came in. A lot of things that were introduced by Oliver Heaviside into the equation of James Clerk Maxwell were sidelined, and things that should have been looked.
Okay, so right away, I didn't even know what he was talking about then. Right now, we know everything should have been looked into that was sidelined by Oliver Heaviside. I mean, I'm already like, holy shit, how did I miss this? How did I miss this, guys? He was talking about it 5 minutes, and I'm gonna start taking some notes because I might have to take some clips. So, I mean, 5 minutes and 30 seconds in, he's talking about Oliver Heaviside.
That weren't. Anyway, I will not. There's one more thing that I need to say because we have to be careful exactly how I answer certain questions on the Pais effect.
Sure.
Because unfortunately, as almost every other piece of physics out there, the Pais effect can be weaponized. And it can create a super weapon of all weapons, a weapon of such incredible power as to render the tele-ulam device a pop gun in comparison. And
yeah, okay. I mean, right away, guys, you guys wonder why I'm talking about, like, this stuff is a weapon, right? It's a super weapon. That's what this is.
And this is not hubris. This is mathematics and physics.
Yeah, it's not hubris. He's just talking about the equations, talking about how powerful it is.
Now, it is also important to realize that a weapon of this nature, any army, and I mean any army that would field a weapon of this nature first, would become invincible. Number one.
Wow. And then for him to drop that you would just become invincible. If you have this weapon, you're invincible. Like, he knows the videos are real. So now that I've had enough science to digest this, I can already tell we're not even 7 minutes in. I can already tell that Salvatore Pais knew those videos were real. He probably has worked with technology related to that. He knows the United States government has it. And right here, he's telling us, like, they have this and they're essentially invincible.
Number two, and this is incredibly hard, it's very, very important to understand what this super weapon would represent is a new epoch in deterrence. No sane nation is suicidal, and any insane nation should not exist. Hence, let's leave the super weapon in the realm of physics, but let the audience know, let your live stream know that certain things, numbers, frequency ranges, spectrums, I cannot discuss.
That's fine.
This is something that...
So he couldn't talk about frequency ranges. That's the key, right? I got to be careful here too, guys. Like, I feel like I'm kind of pushing it a little bit, just to be honest with you guys. Because I think we're getting, like, really close to ourselves, and I don't want to help our adversaries, and I don't want to get disappeared. He talks about plasma physics. If it's not this one, he talks about it with Dave Rossi, and he talks about Joseph P. Farrell, which is really weird that he talks about Joseph P. Farrell, who talks about the United States using a super weapon on the plane. So anyway, let's keep going.
That can be quite detrimental to national security if taken in the, how should I say, from the incorrect perspective. So I will not even touch on that. If I hope I have you understanding that if I disagree with a question, I will try to be as polite as possible, but I will say, in the interest of national security, I cannot answer that question.
Yeah, sir, you already went through like 4 of my questions right there from your interview. I can't even believe how, like, even looking back at myself on this, like, I can't even believe how I, like, intuitively understood all this. Like, I knew that this could be a super weapon. I knew we were talking about superconductivity, but I didn't have any idea. Like, I just didn't know the debate. Like, I didn't know he was talking about Heaviside and Maxwell. I didn't even know what he was talking about back then. For your intro right there. And I just want to agree with you on that front. You know, I've heard you say multiple times that you are not a spy and you are not a patriot. I am also not a spy and I'm a patriot as well. And to that sense, the thing I would bring up is this is actually one of the optional things I was going to bring up at the end, but you just kind of addressed it, is that my opinion is that most likely our foreign adversaries have already potentially figured out this type of technology if what you're going to be telling to us is true. And what that means from a humanities perspective is we need to be very responsible with this technology, because I agree with you. I talked about it last night. I agree with this guy. This guy who's talking right here. We got to be very responsible. And where did Sal go? I mean, Prefontaine, just guess, man. Listen to what he's saying on here. He gave away way too much. He gave away way too much. I have no doubt whatsoever that he was told to be quiet. No doubt. He had to have been. He was saying way too much on here. Even what he said, he pushed it to the maximum. My space. That
mutual assured destruction. Agreed. But it's a whole different epoch of deterrence that we are.
It's not just nuclear weapons anymore. Now we're talking about something that's millions of times more dangerous.
Something that can modify space-time. Exactly. And as a matter of fact, the Schwinger limit, breaking the Schwinger limit.
He just said modify space-time. I can't tell. What are we at? 8:42? I mean, he was literally talking about modifying space-time. And that's modifying space-time is breaking the Schwinger limit, right? So, wow. Even before I even understood all this.
Limit points to that fact. This is physics. This
Absolutely.
is not crack pottery. This
It's not
is
fiction.
physics.
It's just
No,
science.
absolutely not. Sometimes I wish it was.
Yeah, me too, sir.
Unfortunately, it is not science fiction. This is science fact.
And I'm like you. If I accidentally call you sir, it's just a matter of respect. I do that a lot for people that I respect, and you're one of the
So
people
do
that I
I.
really
So I
respect.
have
So
the same thing.
don't take
And
personal
other
offense if
people
I do it.
bothered by it. My own boss is like, stop calling me sir.
For the record, for the people that are asking this question, this technology gets us really close to a Type 1 civilization. I mean, it might push us past Type 1 into Type 2. That's how wild this technology is.
He's a great dude. So
Yeah.
anyway.
So you ready
I
to
got
dig into
full-
this thing? Because I think that you
full
touched
thing.
on part of what I want to begin with, which
Yes,
is
sir.
you've mentioned in your previous podcast, and I don't want to rehash all the stuff that you've talked about before, especially with Kurt, who I thought you had a great interview with. I listened to the whole thing, and he's a very smart guy. Especially when he was talking about quantum gravity, I just thought, wow, this guy is super intelligent.
Oh, Kurt Mongo is truly a theoretical thing. If he was representative of the mainstream physics community and he had a say, I'm 100% that at least he would give me a hearing.
Yep.
At least.
And I
a
think that
hearing.
our plan here, what I want to do is hopefully vindicate you in their eyes as well and get that hearing that you want. Because I think that what we're going to be talking about today, the physics that we're going to be going over, is practical. It's stuff that can really exist, and we need to make sure that it gets the proper Increase the respect. speed. And that kind of goes into my first question and point, is that you've mentioned that your papers were submitted to, I believe, Cornell, and they wouldn't publish them without a sponsor, right? Why do you think that is? What do you think your view is there?
Cornell University Archive is, in my opinion, the best preprint service of all time. As a matter of fact, once you publish an archive, most likely your paper will be published in a highly impacted journal. If at least not a high impact, at least a moderate impact journal. So in other words, 100% your paper will.
I'm gonna increase the
so
speed.
I have great
1.5.
respect for
We'll
archive.
see.
The fact that they need sponsors, maybe it's quite possible that a lot of individuals put certain physics in there that is. Look, Joe the plumber can write a physics paper if he understands the precept, the foundational, the fundamentals of physics. Once you understand them, you can write a physics paper. And even Joe the plumber can publish on archive if he has a sponsor, unfortunately. Yeah. But the whole idea being is we're not living in the time of Einstein, where basically a Swiss patent clerk can get 5 papers published. This is the anomalies, the year of the greatest 5 papers, in my opinion, that opened physics to a whole different dimension of reality, of possibility, conditional possibility. There's no such thing as impossibility. There are only conditional possibilities. But to go back to the idea of why I think archive is blocking and needs a sponsor is sometimes you cannot just go on archive and say, look, Einstein was wrong. And here's the, please, there have been so many proofs as to the fact that the gravitational field equations of Einstein must be at least partially correct because there's so much experimental evidence.
Yeah, so right here, he's talking about the suppression. So for the people that are out there that are like, why are you not just open sourcing your over Unity or free energy device? Because as you saw from a lot of the engineering debunkers who started to immediately ridicule us, this goes way beyond just making the information available. People will not even publish Salvatore Pais. He was a Space Force and Navy engineer with applicable patents that have been granted, and he can't even get published. And this is why when people say, Ashton, you should publish a paper, like I just say, F off, dude. You don't even know how the world works. Like anybody who thinks you can just publish a paper, that anybody can publish a paper, that anybody can just put something out there and that it'll be accepted, doesn't understand how the real world works at all.
Evidence for it. So if you have a theoretical argument against Einstein, then you must argue from a very strong mathematical and physical background and also present experimental proof. And some of these papers, unfortunately, do not. Now, I understand where they're coming from. However, in my opinion, we do not live in the time of Planck and Einstein and Heisenberg and the great ones. Even Feynman. I mean, Feynman is, we're about 1950s. Still, we don't live in those.
So I think
it's
that
extremely hard to publish. And sometimes people that should not even get there because they know the editor or the chief editor, please, nepotism in physics, unpermissible. And
I would argue as well, just to kind of, not to cut you off, but I think that I agree with you there. And what I would argue is that academia has kind of forgotten what science is, right? Science is a scientific method. It's the study of observable reality, of being able to experiment and be able to prove concepts. And I think that now what you just pointed out is that it's been inundated with credentialism, right? And saying, who do you know and what do you know? And so, one kind of point that I would say, kind of closing that bit off, because I think that you have been done a disservice, is that sometimes seeing is believing. Imagine if we had video proof or experimental proof out there that could prove your concepts, right? Maybe that would give another level of credibility to the things that you're saying.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. Experiment trumps theory every time. Again, experiment trumps theory every time.
Absolutely.
And it's an interesting verb, and a lot of people get a little itchy when they hear that word. But
yeah, for the record, I'm getting my sign put up tomorrow, hopefully.
Still, experiment trumps theory every time. Now, can I just give a quick rendition of the Pais Effect resurgence? Because it's important for people to, before, in my papers, actually in my patents, there was one paper that I was able to publish in a high-impact journal, IEEE, Transactions on Plasma Science. It's on the plasma compression fusion device. And the chief editor had...
his plasma compression fusion device. He got that published? So again, what are the two things, guys? Plasma physics and semiconductors. Those are the two things we need. He was talking about the plasma physics, and I didn't even know it was a thing.
Two different. I went through 2 different review boards. I mean, it took a long time, as you can see. If you look, it took a long time for me to publish this paper. I went back and forth, argue this, but at least they were open-minded enough to realize it was something new, something worthy of being seen. Again, this is all I ask for, is a chance to express myself, to express this physics that I think can have some meaning to the progress of civilization. I want nothing more. I don't want royalties. I don't want money for that. I don't want anything except the progress of civilization. We need unification of civilization in order that we do not perish from this earth. I'm afraid of the future, sir. It looks extremely bleak at this point in time. And we either come together and as one unification.
So you can see why Salvatore Pais was talking like this. He's seen the truth. He's seen the power of the technology that's possible. And he probably knows the United States government has it. And he's realizing that the other governments of the world are going to catch up with it as well. And then we're going to destroy ourselves. Like, I agree. Inevitably, that's the conclusion. Assured mutual destruction.
One unified civilization, or we shall perish.
That's what I've said many times as well, actually. And I think that what you said about science is very accurate too. And that the way I've seen science too is that it can be encrusted, very molded, and it takes somebody to push it forward, break through the barrier, right? And with your science, that's what I see, is that I see that people don't want to believe in it because they haven't been told that it's possible. And if they were just look at your math, look at your models, I think that they would realize that there's something there that's actually substantial, and then it can push us forward. The thing you said about unification, I say that almost every single time, is that we live in such a divided world right now, where if we get that unification, this science could potentially be that thing that unifies us towards common purpose, right?
The physics of the superforce, in my opinion, can bring about unification of mind and soul.
Yeah.
The two should not be driven apart. They're one and the same, one manifestation of the other. All is one, one is all. This is the true basis of Hermeticism, and this is the true basis of all future of civilization. If we have a chance to survive, this is it. Unification of civilization. It has to be a common goal, a common objective. And why not? I remember at one point.
I agree on the AI thing too. I think one way or another, AI is going to figure it out. AI will be able to show that the videos are real as well pretty soon. And then it's going to be basically unstoppable. We won't be able to suppress it anymore.
Eric Weinstein, as a matter of fact, mentioned one time, travel, maybe this should be our final objective, to leave this earth, break the shackles of earth, break the bounds of earth, and become an interstellar civilization. That maybe, just maybe, will give us a chance for survival. The road that we are currently on is total abysmal in perdition.
Couldn't agree more. So let's attack
your Pais Effect quickly.
Oh, actually, I was going to go to that in just a second. I think that's the next question, if you don't mind, because what I want to do is I want to debunk this. There's a debunk of a debunk of you. So the biggest thing I think your detractors mention when we talk about your patents is they claim that you can patent anything. Now, what I read from watching your last interview is that only 3 of your 5 patents were even approved, which to me would indicate that it's not true. So I'd like to get your opinion on that, sir.
There's a very simple way to debunk I don't even know what the correct terminology is anymore. For example, I don't use UFOs. You shouldn't erase 70 years of history just because
for the record, guys, I call it UFOs now too. I'm not calling it UAPs.
I think that new terminology would somehow eliminate the derision. The derision is far more basic than that. History is important, sir. Never forget history. Okay, but anyway, the way to argue that is look at the office actions of a great primary examiner called Philip Bonzel of USPTO. Oh my goodness, him and I went back and forth between him, Mark Bluth, who is the United States NAVAIR patent lawyer.
For the people that think it's going too fast, I will pause for major points. I'm just waiting for, I think the meat and potatoes happens like in about 5 or 10 minutes.
Also a good friend of mine, an amazing patent lawyer. Trust me, anybody that can write those, and also the office actions, you should see what Mark did. You should see what Mark Bluth did with the office actions in response to Philip Bonzel. Philip Bonzel, I mean, he really bit into the physics. He said, you cannot tell me that it's possible to create electric fields on the order of 10 to the 18 volts per meter, and induction, magnetic induction, otherwise known as B fields, magnetic flux density on the order of 10 to the 9 Teslas. And it's an easy way to remember that. It's E equals CV, C being the speed of light in free space. But anyway, so that's how I remember the numbers. Sometimes I forget them myself. But the whole idea is once you're able to create, it's not exactly that you create E and B of that. It's the energy density that you can create from rendering the Pais effect. And the Pais effect, speaking to the Pais effect, is it okay if I give?
Yeah, I think that's a good segue. That was my next thing. So jump on in. What's your definition of the Pais effect for our viewers?
Okay, it can be thought of as controlled motion of electrically charged matter going from solid to plasma, undergoing rapid acceleration transients.
Controlled motion of electrically charged matter going from solid to plasma. Huh. Yeah, sounds like superconductivity to me.
Accelerated vibration and/or accelerated spin.
So accelerated vibration, remember the AC current thing? Increase the frequency, get the frequency to the right point. This is why he wouldn't talk about the frequency, I think.
Leading into very high energy densities being formed. Because remember, the electromagnetic energy flux is really the speed of light c times the energy density, the epsilon sub naught, the epsilon, sorry, sometimes I drift into quite.
Magnetic force is the energy density is equal to the magnetic force times the speed of light. Is that what he said?
My English. So the epsilon 0 times the electric field square. So C times epsilon 0 times the electric field square. That is your S, the magnitude of your Poynting vector, let's call it. That's the electromagnetic flux. And that electromagnetic energy flux, if it's on the order of 10 to the 33 watts per meter square, which really corresponds to a energy density on the order of 10 to the 25 joules per meter cubed, then we can break the Schwinger limit. If we can achieve anything past that, those particular values.
Yeah, okay. So now I absolutely understand exactly what he's talking about. So he's saying exactly when we see the zap in the MH370 video, he's talking about the Poynting vector and the magnitude of the Poynting vector based on breaking the Schwinger limit. So those orbs are using Coulomb's force, and they're increasing the force potential to such a high degree that it's breaking the Schwinger limit. It's becoming non-local. And now we're having a situation where the plane's literally teleporting, and it actually is going to teleport backwards based on the vector travel. So if you look at this rotation of the orbs, the plane is actually going to be teleporting backwards. So this is why it's getting sucked backwards towards the Maldives, which is where it was seen as well. So yeah, epsilon, I believe, is the permittivity of free space. If that's true, then I just pulled a Will Ferrell in the old school, because I don't know how I'm just pulling this out of my ass.
We can actually put it this way: vacuum decay, complete vacuum decay.
Interesting. So yeah, complete vacuum decay. So the way I think about it, conceptually, is that when you're breaking the Schwinger limit from a non-local area, bubble, you are ripping through the fabric, or you're ripping through not the fabric, but maybe you're ripping through the paint on your canvas to the underlying canvas underneath, or you're puncturing a hole. Like you're literally doing this. That's what you're doing. And then the question is, well, where do you show up on the other side? If you pop through on this side, where do you show up on this side? And the answer is the fourth orb, chat. Bada bing, bada boom.
It's really the achievement that all of a sudden, the very quantum fabric of space-time is unraveled. It breaks apart. It tears apart. And you can see it by the formation of particle-antiparticle pairs.
Mm-hmm. I've heard you talk about this quite a bit. Now, real quick on that, the vibration.
Okay, let me give, I'm sorry,
you're fine.
Actually, I promise this is the only time I'll interrupt, because it's important to see that's why I call it the resurgence of the Pais effect.
Yeah.
Another way to see what the Pais effect is all about is to say it's really the generation of extremely high energy densities that are obtained by the accelerated vibration and or accelerated spin of a non-equilibrium plasma.
Okay.
That means a plasma that's out of equilibrium. You can think of that.
Wow.
They have a term for it called
non-equilibrium. Is he going to say exotic vacuum object right now, chat? Remember, we just learned what non-equilibrium means as well, guys. What's a non-equilibrium plasma, chat? Who in the chat knows what non-equilibrium is? We've talked about it several times related to over-unity. Non-equilibrium would be you take your system, this is your system, and you're getting excess energy in, your system's opened up. So a non-equilibrium plasma is what? One that's achieving over-unity. What does that mean? That means it's cold fusion. So remember when Bob Greenier said, when he was looking at the orbs, he said that these orbs are exotic vacuum objects. They're extracting energy from the environment. That's what Salvatore Pais is saying here, a non-equilibrium system. An equilibrium system is if you take your circuit, you just have energy coming in and you have energy coming out. A non-equilibrium system is one where you're getting energy from the environment. If he says exotic vacuum object here, then we'll know the answer.
Cold plasma, cold, as in, non-thermal plasma.
Cold plasma, as in cold fusion.
And it really has to do with the electrons of this plasma that talks to the plasma density very high. I cannot go into numbers, but anyway. Okay, so what? Right. So these, but
I'm pretty. Oh no! What did I? Oh
I just
shit!
did my English. So the epsilon 0 times the electric field square.
Okay.
That means what I'm describing is the unraveling, the ripping apart, the tearing apart, and also the AIAA paper and also the IEEE TPS paper to your of the vacuum. In other words, we're dealing. I'm not quite sure if it's a crystal lattice. We're not talking about time crystals here, even though that's another thing.
Sorry, I don't know where we were.
I
actually just clicked incorrectly.
Observe something called a Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution.
Okay.
That's what it's really, the generation of extremely high energy densities that are obtained by the accelerated vibration and/or accelerated spin. Or
we're gonna just play right back here.
A non-equilibrium plasma.
Okay.
That means the plasma is out of equilibrium. You can think of that. They have a term for it called cold plasma. Cold, as in non-thermal plasma, and it really has to do.
So this is why Bob Greenyer got excited, because cold plasma is cold fusion, which is low energy nuclear reactions.
The electrons of this plasma that talks to the plasma density very high. I cannot go into numbers, but anyway. Okay. So what? Right. So
when he's talking about plasma density right there, he's talking about his compressed fusion reactor. He's saying that if you compress the density high enough, you're basically creating cold fusion, and it's producing over unity from the vacuum.
These, but the number of these electrons do not observe something called a Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution. Okay. That's what a cold plasma is all about. An out of
Maxwell. What was that? Boltzmann distribution. Boltzmann distribution. We're definitely looking that up later. Okay.
Equilibrium or non-equilibrium plasma. Once you drive that far from equilibrium at a particular vibrational frequency, you can induce extremely high energy densities.
Yeah.
If you do this locally, think of it. The thing popped into my mind sometimes. This is some crazy stuff, but anyway, think of it as a steak. You take the meat tenderizer, the big hammer, and you keep on pummeling at the same spot over and over. What do you see eventually? A hole.
Yeah.
A hole. Ain't that interesting?
So is that the vibrational acceleration there that you're kind of describing?
What I'm describing is the unraveling, the ripping apart, the tearing apart locally of the space-time fabric at a quantum level, determined by this incredible.
24 minutes. 24 minutes. Ripping a hole.
Amount of energy density that is put at that particular point. The more energy you put in a particular point, the more that in that locality, space-time will break apart, will tear apart, and it's possible that a hole will develop like a black hole almost, if we truly understand what a black hole is. But you see, just like Frank Wilczek. Frank Wilczek also believes in the materiality of the vacuum. In other words, we're dealing. I'm not quite sure if it's a crystal lattice. We're not talking about time crystals here, even though that's another thing that Professor Wilczek is greatly known for. But we're talking about almost like at a quantum level, you can think of space-time as being a material. It could be a superfluid, but it also has almost a space-time geometric structure to it. Yep. And that's what my superforce speaks to.
What is your thought?
It may not be mine. It's quite possible others have come up with these ideas before, but the equation 1 in that superforce paper, and please post the superforce paper and also the AIAA paper and also the IEEE TPS paper to your live stream and send it to everyone you know. Those 3 papers best represent my work. I believe in the number 3, like a great man that once lived, and I shall not mention because I mentioned him before, and trust me, this Nikola Tesla will go down in history as one of the greatest we've ever had. And the way he was treated.
Wow, 26 minutes, Nikola Tesla, huh? One of the greatest ever. So, I mean, you can tell that Salvatore Pais is coming from a place where he's seen the stuff too, right? So people ask, like, Ashton, why are you so confident when you talk about free energy and this stuff like that? Because I also know. Like, I know that those videos are real, so I know we've seen it. So Salvatore Pais back then was coming from a position that he knew those videos were real and he knew the science was real as well. This is not somebody who's talking from a position of, guessing. This is somebody who's literally seen it experimentally. You can just tell from listening to him.
Abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. That dude, JP Morgan. Watch out. Watch out, if you know what I mean.
He just goes into watch out for JP Morgan.
Anyway.
Yeah. I think that interesting enough. So I think for people who are in the chat, you know, what you just said about the papers, I posted them on my Twitter before. I'll throw them in the description later on as well. But share those papers. Sal here is telling you guys that, you know, share them far and wide. Those are very important. Now, with respect to some of what you were talking about around the Pais effect, you know, I think that what I saw in one of your past interviews too was that using vibrations as opposed to spin is potentially more beneficial. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes, sir. You can, for example, we tried an experiment called the high energy electromagnetic field generator to see whether we can get the magnitudes of the Poynting vector, namely the electromagnetic energy fluxes, very high up based on accelerated spin of an electrically charged object. Unfortunately, we could not get an electric charge more than 10 to the -8 coulombs. You put that in that sigma squared term, which is the surface charge density squared, and you'll see it's quite a deterrent. We're talking about 10 to the -16 going against you. And even though we try to make the test section very small, it's still. However, for anyone that's out there and wants to see further what the high energy electromagnetic field generator experiment brought, I encourage them put a FOIA in and actually get the unclassified report. There were two anomalies. That were observed. As a matter of fact, some very highly placed people from the technical committee of the Senate Armed Services Committee came to Navier Pax to interrogate, how should I say, the members of the Invention Evaluation Board on why they passed these 5 patent applications. Because a lot of people said that if anything, these should have been classified. So there was a whole team that was sent from the Senate Armed Services Committee to investigate. I'm pretty sure that
they should have been classified. So he says that you have this strong force working, or this this kind of negative aspect working against you, which is this 1 to the minus, or 10 to the -16, which is a 0 with 0.16 zeros, which is a lot, especially if you need to get to positive 10 to the 32. But basically saying there's a way to make it happen.
That certain individuals, I shall not name names, but they must have said, oh, this was a scam. This was a total misappropriation of funds, even though we're talking about only, what, 0.5 million for, like, I don't know, like 15 people over a period of 3 years.
1.5 million, guys. You know what this reminds me of? The Dark Knight. You know what I love about weapons and explosives? They're cheap. This is significantly cheaper than even like healthcare, for example. Weapons are cheap. Even these kinds of weapons are super cheap. Oh, Coulomb charge is 10 to the -16. Wow. So that's the reason why, but you can increase it exponentially. So that's where you can get it to make it work.
Please. I mean, do the math and you'll see what I'm talking about compared to some of the stuff that's going on. But anyway, I shall not make it too dark. No. Now, so the whole idea being is there's a report out there. It's unclassified, and it talks about so even with a charge like 10 to the -8 coulombs, instead of the 1 coulomb needed to get the kind of energy densities we were truly looking for to observe certain phenomena that I cannot discuss. Those are anyway. Yeah.
So 29 minutes, he talks about the Coulomb charge at 10 to the -16 or -8. So he's saying, like, this is what we're working in the negatives. We're already in the red, and we got to get to the black.
Even with that, 2 anomalies were reported, and actually in the report. So that's interesting.
Yeah. What's that report?
Observations. We're not talking about.
Yeah. Does anyone know what report he's talking about? I will have to look back and figure out this Senate report somewhere in here. Senate report unclassified. We got to find that unclassified report, chat.
We're talking about experimental observations.
And that's my next question too, related to this accelerated vibration. Like, what's the delivery mechanism? Can a laser do that, or can you speak to that, or is that?
Sure. I shall speak with it, but only in the general.
Yeah.
Just the point that it is very interesting that the 2023 Physics Nobel Prize went for what? Electron dynamics induced by Atto-second lasers.
Yeah, interesting. Atto-second lasers. So this is 30 minutes in. Atto-second lasers, Nobel Prize 2023. Okay.
-18 second lasers.
Very interesting.
We're not talking about femtosecond. We're talking about attosecond. There's a reason. So let me say.
So attosecond is so fast that it's practically instantaneous. So I think that what we're getting at here is the frequency, potentially. Not sure.
Let me just leave it there.
Interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
And are you familiar with metamaterials, sir? Probably, right?
I have some familiarity with it, yes, sir.
So,
but
yeah.
I would rather not.
I know a little about metamaterials.
Discuss that portion.
Okay.
It has something to do with certain things. So
yeah, that's fine. So let's go on to the next one then. In terms of your patents, this might be a question I don't know if you can answer or not, but do you think that these patents are operable today?
Yes,
based
sir.
on what we know about technology?
See, a lot of people have questioned on that, and I said, how dare the USPTO publish it? They were not properly enabled because, you know, all the ingredients are there, but you have to know what you're doing, number one. Number two, it is important to understand the nature of the materials, the piezoelectrics, exactly how they operate. For example, what is the main difference between strontium titanate, barium titanate? What exactly is something called the Mossbauer effect? Anyway, I mentioned it actually in a publication of mine, one of the few papers I was able to actually publish in a journal, but only because it was in the beginning of the journal. And I think my opinion is that the chief editor needed papers more than anything. And he was taken aback by the what's the best, the ambition of the idea. Let's put. It was actually the high energy electromagnetic field generator. That paper that I published, I think it was the International Journal of Space Science and Engineering. And trust me, I tried to publish the Superforce paper at the same journal, thinking, you know, I published a conditional possibility of spacecraft conditional possibility of spacecraft propulsion at superluminal speeds, and that high energy electromagnetic field generator in the same volume. I think it was volume 3 of I think it was issue. Anyway, it was they were both published in the same volume. One of them as a technical note, the other as a full-fledged paper, a technical paper. I tried to publish the Superforce paper in the same journal. They would not. It's as if my name is on some sort of a blacklist. You know, they mean, oh, Salvatore Pais. No. I'm talking about sending papers and having rejections within a matter of 12 to 15 hours. Wow.
That's interesting.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. Have you ever gotten the my results are changing quickly? If I Google you right now, is that going to happen? It's a bit of a badge of honor, you know.
I between you and I have some friends back in New York City that how should I say, they watch for my statistics. One of them said, dude, one time I Googled your name because he watched it. He actually has a statistical charge of it. He said that at one point in time, when you Google Salvatore Pais, you got over 300 million results, and all of a sudden it dropped to like 7 million, and then it went up. He had no idea what was going on. He said, "This is not possible. What are we talking about here? I mean, you have numbers higher than Andrew Tate." but I hope I didn't get anybody canceled from even.
No, I don't think so. At least. Not necessarily you
connected to Romania. But anyway.
So I think I wanted to jump into the superforce in your equation number one, which you want to talk about, because I read through your paper. I looked through
we should put that for Andrew
Tate,
right?
as a layman to understand them. And when I look at your superforce, especially with equation number one, it basically says that if you look carefully at the mathematical structure of the Planck force, you can realize that this is the superforce. It does not contain the H bar. I've heard you say this, namely the modified reduced Planck constant. Therefore, it can relate to quantum phenomena exhibiting macroscopic classical behavior, namely a macroscopic quantum phenomenon. Now, when I look at that, I think, are we talking about a unification of quanta and macro? And is that how you would argue your equations here?
Absolutely, sir. Equation one speaks to exactly what you're talking about. And as a matter of fact, page.
So this is why Sal loves me, right? Because I figured out like his equations talking about unification of the forces, unification of quantum and macro. You know, I'm not even that all in on the unification theories anymore. The unification theories are just a byproduct of figuring out the science. Pretty wild.
Page 2 of the paper. It's just a 3-page paper. I mean, anybody, for goodness sake, maybe that's why I got a 15-hour rejection, because it was extremely fast. But you know, just that equation one is so powerful, because I will tell you what it says. It actually says.
Yeah, I was on this. Not only certain, this was like 8 months ago, guys. That's how long ago this was. I knew nothing. I didn't know the first thing about electrical engineering when I recorded this. And now just look at how far we've come.
It's the superforce.
Somebody earlier was saying, Ashton, you look like you seem like you've aged 3 to 5 years. I feel like I've learned 3 to 5 years worth of knowledge in this period of time. It's so much easier to learn stuff when you've already seen the answers, and then you can just go and find the supporting evidence. Much easier.
That is the energy gradient at both the Planck scale and the energy gradient.
Yeah, I posted all of his papers. I actually have them up here in the background as well. The papers and the patents that are out there. The biggest one is probably, I think it's like high energy electromagnetic forces or something. That one's a big one. And then the high frequency gravitational wave generator. I posted the superforce as well. If you search my Twitter, you'll find it.
Gradient at the horizon scale, which is when talk about observable universe. How is that possible that the superforce can be the energy gradient at the very lowest of scales, signifying the lowest of our realms, the quantum realm, and also the highest that we understand, the observable universe? Not only that, I believe, because of the way it's fashioned. For example, if one day we were to find out that our universe doesn't have an observable radius, say, of like on the order of 10 to the 27 meters, it has something on the order of 10 to the 80 meters or something of that nature. That equation would give you how much mass is in that structure, which would think what that means. It means really we're living in some sort of a matrix, like a space-time geometric structure that can be altered.
Yeah,
That, in my
construct, right?
opinion,
Construct.
a construct of some sorts.
Yeah, so if you can manipulate the space-time structure, then you're in a construct, right? I'm gonna clip that probably too. What's that? 36 minutes. 36.
Which is, I'm not going to talk to the simulation hypothesis because I think this is very real. I believe when I pinch myself, it really hurts. So, Einstein said something far more subtle and far more philosophical in nature. Namely, he believes the moon is still there, even though he's not looking. Absolutely.
That's a good argument. Yeah, and I think that we can, the spiritual stuff we can dig into potentially in the follow-up interview, because I think that we probably are on the same wavelength there in terms of our beliefs on that. And but the only thing I would say is that from my own personal perspective, the more I dig into the science and dig around the science, especially around this, the more spiritual I actually become. I thought it would be the opposite, but it turns out that no, I think that I have more of a spiritual understanding the more I dig into science, which is very interesting.
And I want equation 1 from now on to be addressed as the superforce equation. You know, if Michio Kaku can say that his, he has the God equation, then, I think my hubris level is far lower by saying it's minus the superforce equation. Okay.
It was the way you explained it. I think I've heard you say before as well, is the superforce is acting on space-time geometric structure at all points in space and time as well.
Absolutely.
Is that an equivalent definition?
It also speaks to quantum entanglement. That means every point in space and time is connected because of the existence of this superforce. Yes, it exists at 10 to the minus 30.
All points in space and time are connected, right? He just drops it right there as well. Not even space and time, just space time. That's the big rub here as well, right? All points, and that tells us there. I think this is all is the idea that there's an ether as well. We don't even really talk about 0-point energy with him.
35 meters, which is the Planck length, but still, one more thing the superforce equation speaks to, which is when I realized that, I said, whoa, my goodness. If you put in that equation, okay, so the superforce, the equation for it is c to the power of 4 divided by big G. So it basically says speed of light to the 4th power divided by big G. And if you put in, if you realize there's such a thing, for example, okay, if it talks to an energy gradient at every scale, because that's what equation 1 really says. If it goes from the very smallest to the very highest, maybe it goes for everything in between. So I tried the mass of the proton. Guess what the superforce says? Okay, I put in the mass. So in the superforce being mc squared divided by that characteristic length, I put in the mass of the proton, which is like 10 to the minus 27 kilograms. And guess what I get? I get a characteristic length on the order of what? The Schwarzschild radius for proton. So the proton is treated by the superforce as a black hole. No wonder the proton takes so long to decay, if ever. That is an amazing equation. The superforce equation will one day be known by physics everywhere. I hope. And I do not mind if they rederive it, they call it their own, but at least, somewhere in a footnote, they say, some crackpot called Pais thought of this too.
We're not going to call you that. I'm not going to be respectful about that. I know that you're sensitive as well about what people call you, and I think that that's part of the vindication that I want to go through with you as well. Is that
I tell you, sir, I've been. I mean, we talk about blood, tears, sweat, and misery of the mind and the soul over this. Because the moment they called my work, and I understand, maybe I understand, I'm not quite sure exactly why the drive war zone called my papers the UFO patents, the UFO Navy patents. The moment, again, it became a symbol of ridicule, and mainstream physicists would not even look at that because, again, symbol of derision. And I understand why they changed the terminology to UAP, but you shouldn't. Because we're talking about the history of so many people that were involved in the subject matter. And for them and them alone, we should leave that term as is. My opinion, the U in UFO should be unacknowledged.
I agree with acknowledged. Yeah, and here's the thing too, guys. Like now you understand. People ask, well, why Ashton? Why is anyone reaching out to you? Because look at the mental anguish and psychological anguish that these guys have to go through. They don't want to go through it. You can tell that it impacted Sal, and he probably deals with it better than some of the other ones do. They don't want to deal with any of the bullshit that I deal with on a daily basis. The people talking crap about you, trying to dox you, trying to take all your words out of context, trying to debunk you. These guys don't even want to deal with it. They get paid too much money. They don't give a shit. It's just not, they just don't want to, they don't want to bother. So this is why they like me, because I know how social media works. I know how to reach people. I can deal with the trolls. Like there's value in that. I agree with the UFO thing as well. And I also don't want to link your work to UFO because it's really just science. It's not necessarily related to UFOs, although there's obviously a connection there because from what people see, it can describe that as well. So, that's why when we look at the description of my discussion with you, it doesn't mention that at all, because what we're digging into here is the science, right? We're digging into quanta and macro unification. We're going to dig into superconductivity here in a minute as well. And that's the stuff that I want to learn about, the stuff that's not fiction, it's just science. So one quick question.
One more thing about the second, sorry, and I promise you not to interrupt again.
Oh, you're fine. It's your show here, sir.
No.
You're the star.
This is your first interview, so I should be a little more polite. But this is my chance to say certain things. And who knows? Maybe I get a word from command shut, and I can. And this may be my last interview. Who knows? Anything can happen. The truth is. But as Andrew Tate once said, I will never suicide myself. But anyway, okay. Now the idea.
Second Andrew Tate shout out right there at 41 minutes. 41:30. Never suicide myself. I love it. He gives Andrew Tate 2 shout outs.
Being on the second page of that paper, of the Superforce paper, take a good look at the way that I prove that this is the force of unification. There's a remarkable formalism, very simple, that the strong nuclear force divided by the electromagnetic force is 1 divided by the fine structure constant. It's usually on the order of 1 divided by 137. It's like 0.07. But anyway, and it's very interesting that when you actually take the decimal of that 1 divided by 137 and do it in a calculator, and you see what I'm talking about, it's as if the numbers become a wave. It's as if the numbers, it's a vibration. So it's very strange. Just look at the way the numbers change and how it's, trust me, do 1 divided by 137 and you'll see what I'm talking about. Now,
1 divided by 137. I don't know why that's relevant, but I'm curious. Is that relate to any frequencies or anything like that, chat? I really don't know. Thank you, Mangel, for the donation. Appreciate you, brother.
What's truly okay? What was So using that idea, I was able to show very simply that the strong nuclear force equals the gravitational force at the Planck scale equals the superforce. So that the strongest of the forces that we know of, the strong nuclear force, which operates on the order of 10 to the minus 15 meters, so 1 femtometer, and the gravitational force, which is the highest that we know of, hence the general relativity, the Einstein field equations, and so forth. So those 2 scales are at the Planck scale. Those 2 forces are equal and equal to the superforce. Hence, the superforce is the force of unification. And you can actually find on that same page, very simple with some rudimentary math, something that I called in another paper conditional replacement technique. And one can Google it and see what I'm talking about. The CRT. Some people called it at one point cathode ray tube. I just don't get anyway. The conditional replacement technique, if taken simple in that linear equation, you can actually show that in both the Dirac and the Schrodinger equations, the superforce exists because it's an energy gradient at the Planck scale.
So do you believe that?
It's so
energy
it's so
gradient.
Simple. This is why I love it.
I don't know what that means, but there's still a few terms I have to understand.
Because I like simple mathematics that points to great physics.
Yeah.
That idea of coupling the two amazes. I understand that a lot of people are fascinated by ER equal EPR and ADS equals CFT and so forth. And we can discuss this at one point in time. But
is that really, it repeats like that? It repeats like 7, 9. I'm going to write that down real quick. 7, 2, 9, 9, 2, 7. Does seem like a wave, huh? Then 0, 0. Wow, that's weird. It really repeats like that? 1 divided by 137? Wow.
I'm sorry, Juan Madacena. We live in a de Sitter vacuum, as Eric Belinda once pointed out. I'm pretty sure Juan will be very mad at me at this point.
We live in a de Sitter vacuum. De Sitter space. Okay.
Anyway, Lenny Susskind too, but I have great respect. By the way, Lenny Susskind started out his thing as a plumber in Brooklyn. Ain't that sound? Speaking of Joe the plumber.
Yeah, to your point, like I'm really good at telling when people are full of shit or not. And you can tell right away, Salvatore Pais is not lying. No question at all.
Right. Oh, I would love to have him on the committee as well. He's one of these visual mathematicians. He believes in geometries. That's a very interesting mind. The way his mind works, he's like at a certain age, and yet I couldn't tell. I mean, the man is a giant. It's a cerebral giant, you know? So advanced age doesn't mean a thing. No. Just like pedigree doesn't mean a thing. Why shouldn't Joe the plumber be able to even publish in the archive? Because most likely if you can publish in archive, maybe your paper will be seen in Science, Nature, Physical Review Letters. It'd be nice. But anyway, that's a dream. All right.
So I just for the viewers, when we talk about unifying quantum and macro, I think I saw a question that was kind of helps for them to understand. Do you believe that faster than light communication is possible based on your equations that we talked about the superforce?
We have to be careful to understand the nature of the medium.
Okay.
Within the same medium. So in other words, I believe a medium speaks to a given light speed, most likely having to do with the index of refraction of that particular medium, and also coupled with the speed of light in free space. There's a very simple formula that you can see. It's a ratio. But anyway, so in other words, if we're able to modify the medium, it is quite possible that so-called faster than the speed of light is feasible. But within that given medium, no, Einstein was correct. It is a quote-unquote physical barrier, but only presented by the nature of the medium. That medium can be tenderized. You can tenderize it to the point a hole is formed if you put enough energy density at that particular.
So he's saying that the medium controls the speed of light, but you can manipulate the medium.
Point in space and time.
Cool. So that, I appreciate that answer. I think that helps out with the viewers quite a bit. And I think the next thing we want to jump into is superconductivity. So can you define superconductivity for the audience? And then in addition to that, you talk about high energy densities. Can room temperature superconductors achieve those densities, and how so?
Okay. That second one, I would rather not discuss for reasons that I've said.
Yeah, he doesn't want to talk about room temperature superconductors because potentially through the vibrational effects that he was talking about earlier, that's how you can produce them. And conventional science has no idea.
Before.
Got it.
The first one is in the theoretical realm. Oh, speaking of which, I would love, I believe Leon Cooper is still alive, and Stefan Alexander knows him. I would love him on that community too.
Okay.
And we'll talk about the BCS theory of superconductivity.
You can manipulate this medium by establishing a coherent circuit. Well, that's interesting because coherence is related to all of this, and you can imagine you just create electron coherence. Yeah.
We're talking about one of the, I should not use the term gods to describe men, especially since hubris may be greatly involved. So, but he is one of the giants of superconductivity, and I believe he's still alive. And also Brian Josephson, with superconducting quantum interference devices. Oh my goodness, the stuff that we can do with that. But anyway, I
hope some people are watching so that they, your name dropping a lot of people are really smart. So.
Yeah, both Brian Josephson and Leon Cooper are more than welcome on that committee. I would love to hear. Oh my goodness, they're such giants. But Carbon Mead has to be there. I mean, this is a man. This is the father of true in my opinion, of semiconductor technology. But not only that, he has such ideas. For example, even in gravitation. But because he has a pedigree as an electrical engineer, even as a professor at Caltech, that man is not being heard properly by the community that supposedly he's not part of. Science should not have limits.
Agreed, sir. So what's your definition of superconductivity for the audience?
Superconductivity, well, I would put an electrically charged superfluid could be a superconductor. So the idea being that it's possible that we can actually...
Electrically charged superfluid. What's a superfluid? Like helium? Remember, was it helium-3 and lithium-6? If supercooled, become a superfluid. And then if you electrically charge them, you could have a superconductor. Remember that in Antarctica, Eric Hecker said they had, was it 450,000 gallons of helium-3, which is extremely explosive. They were using it for something down there. Very interesting. There's definitely a connection to that.
Actually slow photons in a superconductor. See? And that's interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
Very interesting. Wait, did he just say you can slow photons in a superconductor? Can that reduce C? So what's your definition of superconductivity for the audience?
Superconductivity, well, I would put an electrically charged superfluid could be a superconductor. So the idea being that it's possible that we can actually slow photons in a superconductor.
Sorry, what? We can slow photons?
See? And that's interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
Very interesting. So why does that work?
It talks to the ability of medium. Now, a superconductor itself is really basically zero resistance as the electron flow goes through a certain medium, say a wire. Let's call it a wire, for lack of a better term. Even though the way electricity actually moves along the wire rather than through it is very questionable. But anyway, I should not go there because I'm already...
Did you just hear what he just said? He just asked whether or not electricity flows through the wires, chat.
Certain medium, say a wire, let's call it a wire, for lack of a better term. Even though the way electricity actually moves along the wire rather than through it is very questionable.
Oh, we're saving that. 49.45. Electricity flows along the wire, not through it. People, even electricians, don't realize that electricity doesn't flow through wires. Power does not flow through wires. It's funny how they don't even, it's so fundamental and so important. And even electrical engineers and electricians don't understand that. It can reduce C. Gerald says, yeah, so superconductors can reduce C. That changes the equations entirely. That changes the equations in a big way.
But anyway, I should not go there because I'm already called the crackpot. I don't need... So even though there was a very interesting podcast on Veritasium as to that illusion, that...
He just brought up the Veritasium video. He just brought it up. Okay, holy shit. I should have sent this to those electrical engineer debunkers. I'm going to make them watch this clip. I can't believe he just brought the Veritasium video up, chat. Holy shit. Guys, we're going to fucking produce over Unity. I cannot wait. I'm either going to get disappeared, the entity I work with is going to get disappeared, or we are going to prove over Unity to the world.
Okay, I'm diverging. I'm taking so many
no problem.
So the whole, okay, and there's one more thing that defines a superconductor. That's the Meissner's effect. That's the ability of the superconductor to actually, I believe.
How dumb are these electrical engineers debunkers that we were beefing with the other day? Like, they're just complete morons. And the best is they're so cocky and confident, like they know how all of electricity and physics works, and they don't know the first thing about it. They don't even have the fundamentals correct. Like, this is why I love trolling with them, because like they don't know shit and they act so cocky and confident all the time. It's hilarious. Now, I can't believe rewatching this is just, it's mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing.
It forms a magnetic field of itself, of its own, some sort of eddy currents that actually form on the superconductor, and something called the London penetration depth. See, a magnetic field will actually penetrate the superconductor.
So the eddy currents are forming on the superconductor. So that's where the London penetration depth comes into play. So I've got to understand that. That's one of the things I still haven't quite figured out. But all of this is linked to anti-gravity. Your son was explaining this. Yeah, people that work in military stuff know the reality of this stuff. It's not that electricity flows through air, although of course it can. The question is the electricity is flowing through fields, and you could argue that the fields are flowing through the ether, space-time. The air just happens to be there. Interesting.
Unlike
I thought it worked around it.
See, that's the beauty of it. It actually goes to the London penetration depth, but what it does, it forms eddy currents, which talk to a magnetic field opposite that repels the magnetic field that's put upon the superconductor.
Yeah, so the superconductivity is repelling the magnetic field. So that's where we're going to be able to potentially produce a scalar potential, is what I would imagine. How is Heaviside influenced? Did he know it was doing a long game? That's a great question. How far back does this go, Mangel? Thank you for the donation, by the way.
So yeah, but there's a London penetration depth, and some, and you can. I remember that.
This was Hard Truths #1.
I wrote a paper. I think the room temperature. The AIEE SciTech speaks. It was a presentation that was based on a paper that I wrote, that I presented at AIEE SciTech 2019. And please make sure you post that, because slides 4 to slide 9 is extremely important. I even, in one slide, actually solved the vacuum catastrophe. You know, the whole idea, you know.
I'm looking at it right now.
That we get 120 orders of magnitude difference between the quantum realm, and how is that possible? Well, it speaks to the idea that maybe we're not dealing with Planck lamps here. We're dealing with some space cells of a different dimension and terahertz frequencies. Ain't that some? But anyway, yeah, that's as far as I go. I should not say more than that.
Broach a little edge here, huh? So, well, I got more then. It might broach even further.
Drops all of a sudden. I tell you, call me.
Okay. So the next one that was related, I don't know if you can dig into this, because I heard on the Theory of Everything podcast too, you were mentioning that Bose-Einstein condensates can allow for room temperature superconductive effects. Is that something you can elaborate on? Or is that? So I already know the answer on this one, I think. So Bose-Einstein condensate is potentially the same as a superfluid. And he's saying if you electrically charge it, then it can produce superconductivity. And also kind of pushing it too far.
That's more okay. To understand how the room temperature superconductor that I'm talking about, which is an active room. See, I believe that maybe one way to solve superconductivity at room temperature is not necessarily by material properties, to actually find, for example, LK.
It's funny. I can't believe I got him to actually talk about it right here. And he mentions LK99 right here as well. Wow, man. This is weird. Look up Atto-second and gravitational wave. Compare the waveform. Guys, we might be pushing it too far ourselves here.
99 and so forth. You know, the whole idea of finding a specific material, copper, barium, strontium, no, maybe it has to do with the way that you can influence something that is already a superconductor at very low temperature, but make it a superconductor at much higher temperature, so raising the critical temperature. And actually, there's a great paper out there still on archive, and one can Google it. Hopefully it's still on. Hopefully they haven't taken it down. There's a lot of concerted effort to make my work look like pseudoscience. So someone Google it fast before it goes. It's written by Dr. Victor Lachno, Vikto.
I'm going to have to read the Victor Lachno paper one more time. I posted it a while back.
Lachno, or Victor with a C, I'm not sure.
I heard you
but his
last
name is Lakhno, Lachno. And he's from the Russian Academy, form of the Russian Academy of Sciences. He he wrote a paper called something, the road or the way to high,
temperature
room temperature superconductivity, something of the nature. It used to be on archive, but in reference 10, he actually speaks to the idea that the way that I do it, the way he believes that that my idea on the room temperature superconductor is possible, is that what I'm really doing is forming a Bose-Einstein condensate and then actually moving the condensate because of a certain vibration within that field. And you can actually read his paper and see the last paragraph, and he references me. It's the only, I believe the only paper out there, in the academic, quote unquote, academic community that actually references that particular idea. And I think he's got a point. Somebody read that paper carefully. It's the last page, and he references my patent in reference 10, I believe. Still remember that. Yeah, he actually wrote a book recently on high temperature superconductivity as well. But anyway, I digress.
I'm going to read the last paragraph to you from that. I've already pulled it up. Now, let us consider the case where the sample is placed in a magnetic field. In view of the Meissner effect, the magnetic field sets in motion the Bose-Einstein condensate at the subsurface layer of a sample whose thickness is the order of the London penetration depth. Hence, the velocity u in a sample in a magnetic field appears to be distributed heterogeneously. Since the magnetic field does not penetrate into the sample, the main mass of the Bose condensate occurring in the sample will be motionless, playing the role of a kind of dark matter. And what does dark matter do? Dark matter acts as extra gravity that we don't perceive. So to me, it sounds like he's talking about a scalar potential. I could be wrong. It follows that the critical temperature in the subsurface layer differs greatly than the bulk of the sample. Thus, for example, the bipolar ion concentration is equal to MeV. The critical temperature in the bulk of the sample is as compared to the surface. So what he's saying is that the surface value, you can get superconductive. The critical temperature is higher potentially at the surface level than it is deeper down into it. Huh. So for superconductors with critical temperature equal to 100 Kelvin, which is about minus 270 degrees Celsius, I think, involvement of the bulk part of the Bose condensate into the motion can threefold enhance the critical temperature, hence exceeding room temperature. Because then it would give it from 10 Kelvin to 300 Kelvin, which is 30 degrees Celsius. This phenomenon was probably realized by Sal Pais. With this aim, Pais used an alternating magnetic field which deteriorates the surface superconductor layer and an alternating current which sets the bulk Bose condensate in motion. Holy shit, chat. Holy shit, chat. Oh boy. I'll put subtitles on.
Sorry.
Yeah, so no, you're fine, because that's actually, I think you just said the next thing I was going to say, which is I heard you say that in a previous interview that extremely low temperatures can create the Bose-Einstein condensate, which can allow things to move as one, the electrons potentially, if I'm saying that correctly,
Yes,
and that they might even. Yeah, go ahead.
Is macroscopic quantum coherence. The idea that it's possible under certain conditions. For example, what's a superconductor? A superconductor is really, in the words of Phil Anderson, the idea of emergence. Now, Phil Anderson, Nobel Prize winner, a great mind. God, I believe he's deceased, but he at one point he was talking. I forget exactly how he tackled that problem. Anyway, I digress.
That's fine.
Look into the work of Phil Anderson and his idea of emergence and how he links it to something called macroscopic quantum coherence. How a physical object of classical size can behave as a quantum entity under certain conditions.
What's the difference between that and macroscopic quantum decoherence? Yeah, so he's talking about frequencies. So a specific frequency of your alternating current is going to be able to change the gradient for the superconductivity critical temperature. Yeah, that's pretty much what we had talked about yesterday, actually, as well. Opposed to coherence.
Now, decoherence, exactly. Decoherence, that is some people think, for example, the gravitational field could be a decoherence method by which something that should have a quantum mechanical. Actually, it was Roger Penrose to mention that. But anyway, the whole idea is decoherence. It's one. As a matter of fact, look into slides 4 to 9. It's in there. Okay. Look into slides 4 to 9 in my AIAA SciTech 2019 presentation. It's in there. It describes macroscopic quantum coherence to a T. And as a matter of fact, if you have it up, read what I write in that particular slide. Like, read the whole thing. I still remember being in that room. I actually got a standing ovation for that slide. They were absolutely. I mean, people was weird. I felt so good being able to talk to my peers and getting some feedback that was not.
Yeah, AC magnetism. Have we ever even heard that? Alternating magnetism. Is that like another way of alternating current? Wow, guys, I think I'm figuring it out. Holy shit. This is how we manipulate gravity. It all comes together. So Maxwell's equations, alternating currents, specific frequencies, and potentially alternating magnetic fields.
So negative in nature.
So I'll just read it out right now if I want.
And actually, do you know who presented before me in that same room? Robert Zubrin. We actually met. We a great guy too. But okay, you go ahead and read that, please.
Yeah, because I think I quoted this when I was posting these. You know what scares me the most is at one point in this interview, Salvatore Pais says something about me becoming a great person. And like it felt like you can tell how ignorant I was back then. I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. It's like he was talking to me now. It creeps me out, man. And also, hey, Investigate Earth, I am going to be out of town at the Cosmic Summit this weekend. Slides on Twitter because there were so many slides I had to break them up into fours, and part of it was saying that this is a vacuum that's undergone macroscopic quantum coherence locally around the craft. As a result, the craft experiences suction into the conditioned vacuum. Another part of it says that this may be the very condition to achieve a state of macroscopic quantum coherence. The idea being that we never leave the system, let the system achieve thermodynamic equilibrium by constantly delaying the onset of relaxation to the equilibrium. Hence, the production of maximum entropy is delayed. The system may violently react by generating anomalous emergent phenomena, such as, but not limited to, inertial mass reduction, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, I think.
And this speaks to what I call the Prigogine effect. This is the work of Ilya Prigogine. You can say in a way that the Pais effect is the engineering of the Prigogine effect, what I call the Prigogine effect. His Nobel Prize, I believe, 19...
Yeah, so I'm going to point out this comment. Ryan, I don't know if I hope that's not your real name, Ryan, because otherwise people might be knocking on your door. But you can do this to non-novel materials as well. So you might be able to cause superconductivity in, like, say, an airplane or the electrons around an airplane. This is where you don't even necessarily need a metamaterial. I was too caught up on metamaterials back then.
1973.
Don't need that.
If I'm not wrong. I remember that his Nobel Prize lecture paper being written, I think December 73. But anyway, he also wrote a book called Order from Chaos, or Out of Chaos. Very interesting. He was, I believe, chemistry, but Ilya Prigogine was an incredible mind. And he basically, his idea was the ordering of what he called dissipated structures, that chaos can be ordered under certain conditions. The idea being you're dealing with a nonlinear medium, for example, a plasma. You drive it far from equilibrium, hence accelerated vibration or an accelerated spin. Yes. And then you have a constant electromagnetic energy going through it, like a flux of some kind. And you're able to get these dissipated structures. I think he used the example of something called Bernard cells. Bernard, it's French. I should know better since I took so many, but I believe it's Bernard. The whole idea is, for example, on a thin plate, if you have a layer of oil, very thin, and you hit the plate from underneath, the metal plate, so you need conductivity there to make sure, if it's a dielectric, this thing will never get heat. So the whole idea is that they form these, in time, they form hexagonal cells. Hence something that begins chaotic, the movement becomes ordered. Yeah. And he used that in his December 19th, an incredible, I suggest everybody go and try to find the Nobel Prize lecture by Ilya Prigogine. I believe it was 1973. Something about time fluctuation, structure. Anyway, very interesting paper.
Yeah, I think this may be similar. Let me know if it is or not. But you mentioned driving the plasma from equilibrium that will begin to self-organize, and that the electrons will begin to move in lockstep in one giant matter wave as well.
Yes, yes. I actually used the phrase that another great used, Wolfgang Ketterle. I absolutely love Professor Ketterle. The only one to reply kindly to my emails. Like he, even though he would not support my paper in archive, he gave some very good reasons for it. And I'm 100% sure that if I would have kept nudging him and stuff, eventually he's that kind of person. I truly see people like that. People like that should get Nobel Prizes, not people that deride others and make fun of them, call them pranks and crackpots. Please, come on,
I've had similar experiences with academia, and the ones I respect, I'm with you, are the ones that people that are willing to talk to anyone, right? Not regardless what their pedigree is.
That's Professor Ketterle.
People that humble themselves, people that don't consider themselves to be soothsayers. So those are the types of people.
Nobel Prize for these.
I gotta find the one on ultramagnetism, guys. What the hell? Remember ultramagnetism from like a few months ago? There it is, February 14th. Newfound ultramagnets shatter the magnetic status quo. Ultramagnetism. I thought it was a joke. Now I'm starting to understand there's more to it.
See, by the way, you showed it. I think by combination of something called evaporative cooling and laser cooling, you can actually cool atoms with lasers. Isn't that cool?
That's really cool.
Anyway,
actually,
there's a lot of stuff you can do with lasers, especially with plasmas. But anyway, I digress.
I'm gonna press you on this next one then. So is it feasible to work with electrically charged solids then? I know we've talked a lot about plasmas, but what about solids in general? Any theories there, hypothetically speaking?
It's possible under certain conditions, but you need electric charges on the order of coulombs. And
you need electric charges on the order of coulombs. So you need extremely high electric charges. So that is what we're dealing with the orbs. Extremely high electric charges.
it's not easy. You can use pelletrons and something.
You can use pelletrons? What's that?
Pelletrons are a modern version of something called a Van de Graaff generator. So you can have
Van de Graaff generator? The hell is that? Anyone know what that is? Super high voltage.
Get high charges on a particular metallic substrate, but it's not simple, and it's not easy to keep that charge from discharging to the medium. Sometimes you need high pressures. It's how should I say? It's complicated. So I prefer simple things, and I think the best way to do this is with plasmas. Now, I'm not saying that plasmas are easy to subdue. As a matter,
the best way to do it is plasmas, guys. And what are we looking at? We're looking at a plasma sphere around the orbs. See, like the fact that he saw me talking about plasma, superconductive harmonic orbs. God, can you imagine the government freaking out when they saw me like saying superconductive harmonic orbs and talking about there being a plasma sphere around the MH370 videos? They were probably freaking out. They probably thought, who the hell is this guy talking to? How did he figure this out? I just intuitively looked at the videos, and that's what I could tell. It was a field around something. I mean, this is why the MH370 videos are the most important leaks of all time. They're absolutely no doubt, beyond any doubt, they're real. It's funny because the people that think those videos are fake have no idea how science works. Like, those videos are showing accurate science that nobody could ever fake. Nobody could ever fake that. All the sun, thank you very much. Appreciate you guys. Absolutely, this is wild.
matter of fact, they're a very interesting animal. I sometimes think plasmas have consciousness of their own, but I digress. Yeah,
okay.
They have almost like a double layer. You have to study what the Hans Alfvén thought of plasma. It's very interesting.
So he just said plasma might have consciousness of their own for whoever else was doing that. We are going to only go for another 25, 30 minutes, and I'm going to send people over to the interview with Diamond.
There's another great Anthony Peratt. The whole idea is that our universe is more than 99.99% plasma.
Yeah.
So, okay. And hence the boost.
Hey, Loomer fan club. How's it going? I don't know if you're related to Laura Loomer, but welcome to Extremely Advanced Suppressed Science.
Sorry, Gramjet.
This is not a joke. This is not pseudoscience. I've interviewed some of the smartest engineers on the planet, and we have anti-gravity technology hidden by the United States government. And you're looking at right now Space Force and Navy engineer who's was basically told to stop talking after I interviewed with him because he was giving away way too much, which I can tell now since I know how some of the engineering works.
That's the whole. But then anyway, I'm digressing on so many levels. Okay, go ahead. Sir.
I'm sure that the people who are being quoted in reference will appreciate all of the shout outs that you're giving them. So that's why I don't want to slow you down at all. So, I mean, the next thing kind of feeds into what we were talking about with your slides, which is, and as much as you can speak to it, how does inertial mass reduction work, and what does it mean for the capabilities of both technology and propulsion in general?
It works the way that I expressed it in my public domain papers.
Yeah.
What I can speak to, even on an experimental level, is, for example, the one thing, in my opinion, is most important is to create these holes in space. That's why when you show, I wanted to make sure that the person. Yeah,
Edward C. Lim leaked those videos, man. It was him for sure. So the question then is, like, how much is the AARO freaking out? Guys, I might post my email that I sent to the AARO later. I sent them a new one today.
That I had the interview with was actually you. Look, this is my.
Like, I'm just straight up trolling the AARO at this point. You guys are going to love my email.
Confessional. So I actually went to a podcast called The Confessionals. I think Merkel Media or something. Really good. Tremendous.
Oh, yeah. So he watched my interview with The Confessionals.
Really good dude, too. That dude.
Yeah, he's a good
guy. Anyway, a very, very nice guy.
So if Tony Merkel's out there, you got a shout out by Salvatore Pais.
By the way, you come across, was really good in that podcast. Bravo.
People check it out, by the way. Anyway, go ahead.
When I saw what those orbs did, the locus of points that they formed, and the moment I actually slowed down and started, because I actually saw one of them, a couple of them went in front of the nose of the aircraft, and this thing was almost free fall. So we talk about very high speeds, and I kept on thinking they're trying to form a locus, like almost like a spherical bubble around the aircraft. And then,
wow, chat, how did I not catch this before? I mean, so he saw the video and he was like, holy shit, talking about the orbs, dude. He knew exactly what he was looking at there. He might not have built them, but he would probably have some idea of who created them. That's pretty wild.
And I thought more and more, I said, oh my God, they're actually, what these three orbs are doing, they're depositing energy at a particular, even though it goes with the spacecraft.
They're depositing energy. God, man, I'm so glad we watched this again.
Still, I think they're moving fast enough to have a locus of points that you can say it's like a spherical bubble that deposits more and more energy within that particular section of space-time to create this breaking of the Schwingeland. And if you do that, you create a hole in space-time. And when I saw what I saw, I didn't anticipate. When I saw that thing, the hole it formed, and then I almost saw like a ring that formed around the hole. It was like a refraction of the superfluid nature of. I said, "Oh my God!"
He saw the refraction. So he saw the refraction from the wormhole. Jesus Christ, Chad. We are definitely playing with fire. Whoever just said we're playing with fire, we are seriously playing with fire. I couldn't be pushing it any further without being disappeared. Like, we are pushing it as far as possible. And the only reason we've been able to push it this far is I don't have any NDAs. There's nothing they can do to me. It's all open source information. They can even shut Salvatore Pais up. They cannot shut me up. The only way to shut me up is to throw me off a building.
This is the Pais Effect. And then I had to prove myself that they would never believe that. Most likely, Ashton will have to go for absolute hell to prove that this is not, oh my goodness.
Well, we're going through it, sir. We're going through it.
Yeah,
no slowing down. It's funny because Sal knew the disinformation that would get thrown at us, right? He knew that this disinformation would happen. He's like, Ashton's going to have to go through hell to prove this. Well, sir, I am going to go through hell. If you're out there listening, Sal, brother Sal, we're going to prove that over unity is possible. And by virtue, we're going to prove this science is possible too. So
I wish you the absolute best luck in this, because this is the best experimental proof that the quote unquote Pais effect is real.
So what the? Yeah, and he's like, this is you're looking at experimental proof in those videos, guys. Like, that's the best experimental proof anyone could ever ask for. We're staring at it. I'll follow up then for sure, where we take a look at the videos together and go through it. I think the audience would absolutely love that. For today, though, I just want to stay focused on the science, just because I think we want to vindicate you and your science here, and I think we've done a great job so far of explaining how it can be practical and real, right? As opposed to the detractors who want to dismiss it. I love how some people are like, "This is serious," but I'm just loving it. I'm loving. This is the greatest thing I could have ever asked for in my entire life. There's no birthday present or Christmas present that could have been better than having these videos come up about and finding out about science that the whole world has no idea about. And then being able to talk to Salvatore Pais. I told my parents when he emailed me back, it was actually my birthday when he emailed me back. And I said, this is the greatest day of my entire life. I told them that. It was. Now, if you have this inertial mass reduction craft, do you know what would that look like to the observer as they're watching that move? And do they produce a field, or how does that work?
Have you ever seen Star Wars?
Oh, yeah. I can see your shirt, by the way.
The X-Wing. Oh, I pride myself all the way. Part of the resistance, baby. Anyway, the Rebel Alliance. But I've always been truly a rebel at heart, but
is it going to look like the hyperspace jump
did
that
I
they
just
make?
say that? I know that. Sorry. Anyway, no. I meant. Anyway, nothing wrong with being a slave. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, well, as long as our existence depends on others, we are all slaves, whether we say so or not. It's a whole different thing. But anyway, let's call ourselves rebels. While we still
I'm
can.
with you.
So,
we're the Rebel Alliance right now. Yeah, if I were to fall off a building, then there would be a Streisand effect that would be massive. Like, if you think the Amy Eskridge stuff is massive, imagine if I disappear with my 140,000 followers. If I disappear, guys, I want you to blast every interview I've ever done, all the clips I've ever posted. I want you to blast it every single day. I want that would be unstoppable. The world would know that the science is real. I would never harm myself under any circumstances. Even if my plane were to accidentally go down or something like that this weekend, you should know 100% it wasn't an accident. No chance. No.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Okay. Now, do you remember how the I think they were called, what were they called? The Imperial cruisers?
The Star Cruisers.
Yeah. Do you remember how all of a sudden they would just vanish as if a hole was formed into? That's exactly what happens with that triangle.
Okay, I gotta address a couple things. Somebody, Kevin Clark, I hope you weren't that weirdo. Somebody told me that someone was saying something about how I was a psyop or something like that the other day. Like, some of y'all gotta get your heads checked out, okay? No, my dad is definitely not in the CIA. He's been an entrepreneur his whole life. He's never worked for the government ever, not even once. He's basically had his own businesses since I was a little kid, and I'm 41 years old. So no, my dad was not in CIA. Just because someone lives in Southeast Asia doesn't mean they work for the CIA. Not even close, man. He loves Asia, and he lived there before I even went to go work to live with him. And I'm definitely not an operative, or somebody said some weird shit about me working for, I don't know if it was Mossad or something. Like some of y'all are actually got some screws loose.
That I represent in the past.
Yeah.
That's how I envision it. And that's why when I saw what I saw in that video, I said, oh my God. But it's very interesting. And you're 100% right. They have to be autonomous. And I'm 100%
They have to be autonomous, right?
sure these were some sort of collision avoidance software. All I remember is that like inside the orb.
The collision avoidance software. Remember, that was what one of the whistleblowers talked about, is the collision avoidance software on the UFOs.
Because you also showed the thermographs. There was some sort of a propulsion plan, some sort of a power plant. Because there was a difference. Right? Yeah, there was something going on in the middle of that orb. But anyway, yeah, I digress. Sorry about that.
No,
yeah, but that's what would happen. People
are loving it. I can already tell. So, okay, so it would look potentially like the hyperspace. And I don't want to offend anybody here, but this conspiracy is magnitudes bigger than 9/11. Okay, I'm not even a 9/11 truther. 9/11 is nothing compared to this conspiracy. Nothing. Not even on the radar compared to this conspiracy. We're talking about the biggest conspiracy in the history of the world, and it's not even close. Okay, like, not only did we steal a Boeing 777 and lie to the whole world about it, you could argue that's on the level of 9/11. We're talking about anti-gravity and space-time manipulation technology and free energy being kept from the world. There is nothing bigger than this. Nothing at all. You couldn't even dream of anything bigger than a conspiracy this big. Jump, I think that's really cool.
Yes,
you actually just answered one of my other questions, which was coming up. And it goes back like 80 years. Okay, this is by far the biggest conspiracy ever. Was, do you think that these crafts could be, there would have to be somebody inside them, or could they be remote controlled? I think that's an interesting question, right? With respect to your, go ahead.
My opinion, both.
Both would be possible.
I think you can make it into an interstellar travel.
That's cool.
I think you can do both. But I think it's far easier to do the, first of all, the loss of human life. Nobody wants to deal with that. Goodness gracious. Sometimes so much better to have these autonomous artificial intelligent agents. Again, this means if it's true what we saw, that means that AI is not a new thing at all. But anyway,
10 years ago almost, right?
I digress.
Yeah, and that's, if we talk about AI, Reddit is literally a CIA psyop. Reddit is literally brainwashing people. Reddit is literally the #1 radicalizer of terrorists on the planet right now. I mean that literally. If Reddit would want to sue me, I would love to do discovery on Reddit. I'm saying this literally. Reddit is Fed-controlled disinformation, and it's radicalizing terrorists, quite literally. I would even argue that most, if not like the last 10 shooters, mass shooters, have all been radicalized on Reddit. It's actually insane how bad Reddit's become.
I digress way too much. Oh, I have another theory on something I call the triarchy of sentience. Eventually, we'll talk about it. It's very interesting. It has to do with artificial intelligence. For example, in my opinion, you can test whether something has become artificial general intelligence.
I do not live in Asia. I lived in Asia like 20 years ago. I lived in Singapore.
By basically seeing if it can generate given, say, textbook data. So we're not talking about stuff that just pulled from the internet, but stuff that's pulled from physics manuals, something that's been experimentally proven. So using textbook data, given a certain computational power level, I believe as long as the AI agent can generate an original concept, it becomes HAI. And
that's really interesting, thinking of ChatGPT. Yeah,
super intelligence is not very far off. So I'm digressing on so many levels. But another thing, for example, the super force speaks to a super density. And eventually I'll talk on that too. Something called, so super force, super bang because of the super density, and super intelligence. Again, I call it the triarchy of creation. After all, I'm a crackpot, right? So since my hubris level has been, inflated to the max.
Yeah, the big problem and the way it's been so easy to suppress this is people just don't understand the technology. They just don't get it. And that's why it's so easy to suppress. So few people understand it. That's why I love my community. My community is actually the community of like the rare people, the 1% that actually understand it.
Well, why not break the swing a little bit?
Hey, why not just change the whole world? Because that's what I think we're doing there, sir. That's what I think we're looking at.
If you can prove that video is for Ashton, that is a Nobel Prize, brother. If I was the Stockholm community, I'd freaking immediately give you a Nobel Prize in imagery or something, or I don't know, like creative thinking. Or
I don't want the Nobel Prize. I just want the Pulitzer, chat. Take a Pulitzer, I don't need.
I want that Pulitzer, man. Give me that Pulitzer. I want to force the mainstream media to give me the Pulitzer, and then I just want to rip it up in front of them. This would be the greatest. That'd be the second greatest day of my life, the Nobel Prize. But yeah, that's only if like you.
Get a prize. So,
I also have to say at this point that I would never hurt myself, and yeah, I'm never going to do anything like that either. Just want to make sure that that's on the record here. Just kidding.
Yes, neither Ashton nor I would ever suicide ourselves.
No,
Thank you.
never in any circumstances.
Right.
So also, I just want to dig into a little bit kind of what you just mentioned, which kind of digs into the stuff we were talking about. Is in your patents, you talk about nonlinear medium using a plasma resonating inside a cavity related to microwaves, and then you also say that you can convert high frequency electromagnetic waves into gravitational waves. Can you speak to that at all?
That has to do with another paper I put out on, I think, the Society of Automotive Engineers. Remind me to send you that paper. I also have that. I think it's like starts with 2040. That paper. But anyway, it was published in the. It's a paper that was needed to get the patent. That was incredible though. That office action was a first. I mean, they actually approved it as a first. The high frequency gravitational wave generator. It could be because prior to this, they were shown to be. I mean, we're talking about the genius of Kip Thorne here, and Barry Barish and Libo, for goodness sake. I mean, the greats, experimental and theoretical Kip Thorne, of course, just like Penrose got it for black holes. But anyway, and by the way, Sir Roger Penrose, or you should be called Lord, in my opinion. So Lord Penrose, if you're ever watching this, there are no such thing as space-time singularities. I'm sorry, I disagree with you. We can have an argument on it. I think Abhay Ashtekar is correct, as in there's a quantum bounce. So in other words, it never goes to zero. It goes to something on the order of the planet.
So like what Joe says here, like the reason why we zapped that plane is because of the technology. We couldn't let China have the technology. That's why. That's why we would zap an airliner. That's basically the only reason why, right? Free energy is one thing, but warping stuff is a whole nother ballgame. That's probably why they're letting us go live with the free energy device. I mean, it's a drip by drip. Yeah, they're not going to let us reveal space-time manipulation technology. I wish.
Density, which talks to the super density. But anyway, that's a whole different ballgame. We'll talk about the super density one day because it talks to the super bang, not the big bang, the super bang. All right. All right, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I've got a few more questions that are kind of similar to stuff we talked about. I don't know if some of it's going back. And I think I've heard something on your Theory of Everything podcast where you talked about there being a thin insulator regarding your inertial mass reduction craft. Does this actually have to be a physical element, or can this be something that can be produced by a field of some sort as well? What are your thoughts on that?
It's a very good question, sir. I'll leave it there.
I love it. I love when I get that answer, honestly, because the same reason why I send in Freedom of Information Act requests. Like, I don't care what the answer is, because no matter what the answer is, I glean information off of it as an investigator. Now, I guess the next. I probably shouldn't have said that because all I've gotten are basically rejections or nothing from the Freedom of Information Act requests. Part two is kind of related to what we were just talking about with, not to go into the videos that we were talking about, but the effect, what we see there in the videos is you mentioned, I think, with the pairing up of electrons causing potentially a suction effect or potentially creating a void that may create the suction effect.
It creates a void within the vacuum. So it's exactly what you see. It's almost like a black hole.
Yeah. But is it a black hole? I guess that's my question.
See. Oh my goodness!
Does it matter like how you define black hole?
I have a feeling between you and I have a feeling that every black hole, there's a white hole.
So
I thought that too. In other words, it's kind of like a wormhole, kind of. So you have the ability to actually transport from one point to another.
What's my initial? I don't even think that there was a Big Bang anymore at this point. That's my true opinion. I've moved actually away from the whole Big Bang theory as well. I just think tired light with the ether as a medium makes more sense. But I don't know. I'm open to anything.
For example, going from point A to point C without actually going to point B.
Yeah.
I think we don't really understand what the quantum vacuum is all about. And I have a feeling there's so much more to physics that I think we're still in our infancy. We think we almost know it all.
No,
I think physics is almost, I would say, 3, maybe 4 months old. There's a long time till this thing becomes an adult.
Basically, I think JFK mentions that too, is that the greater our knowledge increases, the greater our ignorance unfolds. And I look back at that and I think that we think we're so advanced, but we are still potentially cavemen compared to where we could possibly be, is my view. And it's funny you bring up the black hole, white hole situation. That's always something I've wondered about too, because
is that once you remove this energy density, this thing just comes back. And that's why super intelligence. I truly believe what we're dealing with, the energy, the universe is a sentience. It's a sentient being. And I tell you, we got to be careful what we do.
Yes, I do. I think I'm pretty on board with the fourth orb because you need it to stop somewhere specifically. I think the fourth orb is entangled and determines where it goes.
With our planet, because you know what antibodies are.
Yeah, they fight back, right? Against anything that does unwanted things, right?
Yeah.
Well, that makes me think about some other theories that I wouldn't mind talking with you. You see that look on his face with the antibodies? Really, super intelligence at 118, huh? Creeps me out, that look on his face. 118, super intelligence. That's what makes me think of the Gurren Lagann scenario. Another podcast as well, which is into more of the, what are the implications of,
this advanced technology, where it came from, and what it would mean for lots of other philosophical approaches. But we can save that for another time.
That's another thing. Physics and philosophy must be again. We must marry these two.
Agreed.
The divorce that went between physics and philosophy should have never been allowed. I believe physics has so much to gain from remarrying philosophy. And I think Carlo Rovelli, others like him, Lee Smolin,
Archibald Wheeler.
Man, that's a physicist. I would love him in the committee, both of them. But I think Lee Smolin has taken a Canadian citizenship, and there's a. So in other words, the people that would be in this committee would have to be United States citizens due to certain things. I would say, and I'm pretty sure the committee would be. Unfortunately, I would love to have it televised, but I have a feeling, my betters, my superiors would not, would agree maybe to a skipped conference rather. Anyway, I'm not gonna go there.
Yeah, so I'm glad I don't have any NDAs and not have to worry about those types of things. But I understand the prickly situation that you might be in, sir. So again, I just appreciate that you're able to talk freely about this type of stuff. And
well, thank you, sir. Thank you for that. It's just that I was super furious when I saw the changes they did to the Wikipedia page. I mean, for goodness.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to warp the plane into a building, and I think that this is where I start talking about
is how to engineer those conditions.
Interesting.
So in a way, I've answered your question. In a way, I haven't, but I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
I think one of my favorite characters in shows.
That's nonsense. Just for you, your dad is an amazing person. He's going to be
the time differential of your acceleration is non-zero. That's very important. And don't forget equation 7. Please do not forget equation 7 in the IEEE TPS paper, that the plasma compression fusion device. It speaks to something very interesting: an energy runway that an exponential increase with time and accelerating vibrational frequency. Read that. Be very careful when you look at that equation.
7. 126. So he's talking about exponential increase in the energy there. That's what we need in order for this to work, right? Equation 7. Exponential. Interesting.
That says a lot of things. So I hope I answered some of that. I hope but definitely, God, what was his name? Now it really drives me crazy. He was quite a character, an incredible mind. He also went through hell.
I'll put it on the screen here for people to see for a second.
Shame on me for forgetting that man's name. Really, God.
So there's the answer for that. No problem. So somebody else had another question, which they wanted to ask about your thoughts on ER equals EPR. What are your thoughts?
The Einstein-Rosen bridge equals Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen. The whole idea that quantum entanglement really speaks to this bridge between these two particles. The thing what particles are, the superforce says that the proton can act as a black hole. So if so, why not the electron? Maybe the electron is also a black hole. Maybe all particles act as black holes. And as a matter of fact, maybe that's why we see these quote-unquote particles not disintegrating. For example, the proton, the decay time is on the order of 10 to the 34th. I don't know exactly the unit of measure, but even seconds would be horrendously large. But most likely the proton will not decay unless you do something. Again, I'm not sure exactly how the superforce speaks to, for example, the Higgs field. I think, for example, the Higgs field speaks of a different scale. I think the superforce is so fundamental, it exists at the Planck scale. It actually drives everything. Put it this way, it is the force to rule them all. Yeah. One force to rule them all, one force to find them, one force to bring them all, and in the darkness, find them. And it's interesting, they talk about dark energy. Maybe that's what the darkness refers to, but anyway.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, some other stuff. Let's see what people have. Well, people wanted to first say that we love you back, so everybody's a big fan of you in the chat right now. Just let you know.
They're great people.
People want to know what gives you hope for a better world. I think that's an interesting philosophical question. So the electron can act like a black hole. And then the idea that there can, I think he was basically just talking about, it almost sounded like a connection to the ether itself. Could be wrong. I have to probably listen to that one more time. Dark energy. What gives you hope for a better world?
I had to turn the TV off in the morning. I was hoping for some better news. And again, physics and politics should not mix. So I'm totally apolitical. Consider me totally. I'm okay. But I will say this, and listen carefully. And I will say this in both Romanian and Russian. Slushайте. Ascultă bine. And now I will say what I have to say. Credo in unum Deum, Patrem omnipotentem, nihil sine Deo. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Bismillah, Yerachman, Yerahim. Inshallah, Mohammed, Iraizuli. Different languages, different religions, yet signifying all is one, one is all. Unless we come together, we shall fall apart. Unification.
Yeah.
That electromagnetic theory, GEM, should be looked, and Mr. Murad are no longer with us. Mr. Brandenburg, thank goodness he's still with us. He is a good man. He should be listened to tremendously. His GEM theory, GEM, gravito-electrogravitic, electromagnetic theory, GEM, should be looked into. Absolutely, it's fascinating. And he also talks to the pointing vector. He was able to actually show the mass of the Higgs particle. Because we're really talking to the Higgs field. There's not. That's why the whole idea of the God particle.
I need to talk to Brandenburg.
Fluctuations in fields. What exists is but anyway. Again, digressing. Sorry. Next question.
You're fine. No, I think we're drying up, but I have a question for you as well, which is another physicist that I've been talking to has a theory called dilation theory. And I think that the way he would describe it is that time is a fluid symmetry, and that you can essentially take gravity out of the equation. And it's another way to simplify the mathematics, I think similar to what you do. I'm going to send you guys over to the other conclusion, but goes about doing it a slightly different way. And the reason why I liked his theories in general, I'm just curious your thoughts on them, is that the idea is the less mass, the faster time flows. The more mass, the slower time flows.
Incredible.
It's pretty cool, right? Time dilation.
Time. I wish I understood. I think of time as some sort of energy field. I wish I understood. For example, gravity responds to time. Why? And again, we're talking about physical time here. We're not talking about the time as we understand measured by clocks. Because remember, clocks themselves are made out of what? Atoms. And atoms respond to the quantum vacuum and the manipulation thereof. So you have to be very careful by saying, oh, there's no such thing as physical time. Today is equal to tomorrow. Please, I don't think we really understand time, what it really means. Yeah. And since we don't understand time, how can you say you understand space-time? The unification of the same,
right? Yeah.
So we have to be careful to that's why I'm saying we're only in the infancy of physics, maybe 2-3 year month old compared to what other. Anyway, it's definitely not an octogenarian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to go ahead and thank you here. I'll let you. Okay. I'm going to stop it there, guys. I think that's good enough. That was great. Wow. Absolutely wild interview, chat. Yeah, time is an illusion for sure, I think. Thank you, 4 Orbeez, for checking this out. You go check out on the bottom of the screen right here. This is Magnetic. What is it? What's this channel called? Magnetic Reversal News. We're going to go watch Diamond's thing here. Let's pump up his numbers. Let's give him a follow on Magnetic Reversal News, guys. Give him a subscribe. This is a pre-recorded interview, but it should be live right now. We talk about a lot of these same concepts. I bring up some of the science, the scalar physics side of it. We talk about dark energy, dark mass, over unity, free energy, all the good stuff. So check out Diamond's thing right now, right over here, guys. It's live, just started immediately. But wow, that was incredible to listen to that again. I'm going to probably try to take some clips from what we just watched there and post them on my YouTube channel or my Twitter. Pretty amazing, guys. Okay, guys, go ahead and have a good night. Check out Magnetic Reversal. I'm going to leave this up here. I'm going to play us out. I'm going to leave this up. Peace, everybody. Oh, tomorrow as well, we're going to go into Ning Li. We might actually watch the Dave Rossi and Salvatore Pais interview as well. I don't know, but Ning Li soon. And that's going to be it, guys. Take it easy.
In the fields where the skies are wide, talking about a journey through the cosmic ride. Einstein and Thorne, they set the stage for a trip through time across the space age. Wormholes connect distant points in space, traversable paths to a far-off place. No black holes pull, no crushing weight, just a cosmic tunnel to a distant gate.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow. We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow.
Exotic matter, negative energy's the key to stabilize the wormhole for you and me. Quantum vacuum, squeeze so tight, creating conditions for this wondrous flight. Static fields and lasers in the lab they play, generating forces in a new kind of way. Gravitational squeezing, Casimir's force, negative zones we need to stay the course.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy. Travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Boeing 777 through a wormhole flow.
Thin shell formalism plates so fine. Spherical geometry we realign. Energy conditions that we must defy. For a stable wormhole, let's give it a try. Forces balancing the plates, creating the throat, open the gates, from Earth to the stars in a single bound, a shortcut through space profound. Engineers and dreamers hold the key to future worlds and what we could be. With science in hand, we forge ahead through the cosmic paths that we now tread.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy. Travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Boeing 777 through a wormhole flow.
From the fields to the stars, we break the chains. Understanding the universe, we make the gains. Lil Hula Crunk shines, bringing truth to light. Through his music, we'll explore the night. With wormholes and stargates, our path is clear. Exploring